Good morning, traders. It's the epic Liberation Day as Trump will be announcing the tariffs today, of course, but at 4 p.m. Eastern. Boo, boo, boo. Not what I wanted to hear, of course, as I would want this to be released during the intraday market, right? So that we can trade off of it in the after hours. It will be tough to trade. Yes, it can be traded, but the liquidity being lower will make it harder of a trade, right? And we won't be having, of course, full access to our buying power, only 10%. So might have to take the trade, but smaller, and we'll see what happens with that. But it's going to be a big day. Today already, the SPY has just been on a leak. It seems like someone left the faucet on and did not close it up as the SPY down to 555 really quickly. As just yesterday, we were actually getting a little bit of a like kind of day two type of rally. And we're right back down about middle of that rally. And so we'll see what happens with the market action today. Will we be able to hold? We'll take a look at if there's any stock news out there. There's not much, right, guys? I did see some rating changes and some stocks taking a hit this morning, but there really isn't too much on the news front. And it's going to be one of those days where I don't think there's going to be too much action. I'll just be as honest as I can be. I think that we've already gotten the move here in the VXX. It was part of my playbook today, but I might have to take it off because it seems like the trade has already happened. Let's talk about it. Let's get to today's playbook. Let's get to the sunrise report. And let's, of course, take a look to see what's going on in this market and where the opportunities lie. All right, first up, let's take a look at different stocks out there that are getting the move today. And of course, there's different stocks that we can take a look at. There's a lot to go through. Some of maybe the high flyers that have been out as of late. We can take a look at some of those. Of course, there's been some big moves as of late. And you guys, I'm sure, saw we were talking about it, Newsmax yesterday. And this one was one that we didn't really trade here, but it was an absolute rocket, guys. WTF, definitely a big move there. But let's talk about the VXX, as the VXX has already gotten the move that I was looking for, guys. I came in at like 6 a.m., was looking to see that the VXX could get a jump back through the 53s, and it already did it. Already went to 53, 77s. So maybe we got to 54, but I don't see too much more than that 54. I think we're going to stay within the range. We're not going to break the lows on the SPY on the daily. And if we do, that would be a surprising move. Now, I think that we got to be looking to see what happens here. Of course, I want to play the VIX to the upside here. But if you take a look at the SPY, of course, we're already down about 50% of that. Maybe we can go a little bit further. I don't see us breaking 550 today. So it's just going to be one of those days where, I don't know, it could be kind of an in-between type of day, right? Let's go to my next pick here, which is Royal Caribbean. It was the pick from yesterday, and I'm just bringing it back to today. As I've been looking at this head and shoulders pattern, and I can see this breaking through the 200. Yesterday, we slightly undercut it. So 2 days in a row, slightly undercutting 200 and not being able being able to kind of hold above that, right? So now we want to look to see if we undercut that 200 and actually go lower towards like the 195 and 190s. That could be the crack that really breaks this chart. And we did see the airlines take a hit, though, yesterday, as this is an area that I'm looking for continued downside action, as they've been losing altitude and could keep going, guys. Love was the one that I mentioned yesterday. I'm going to look for these to continue on the downside as we're looking for leisure to run into some more altitude drop. And the big part here is all about consumer expectations being in the gutter, of course. Let's go to the last one here. Of course, you can take a look around to see what you guys want to trade here. I'm trying to find a good play here. So I looked at, what about Chevron? I was trying to find a long play versus just only short plays, right? Well, Chevron's been, of course, pretty much 5-year sideways trend, maybe 4 years you consider it because you haven't added this year, but we're starting to get above that. We've been holding here, and I'm looking for the run. We still haven't really gotten that run in the XLE above the 95s going towards the 100. And of course, you can see this on the monthly, how this has been building and building, kind of just hanging out now. We need to look to see if we're going to actually make that big move. We'll see what happens today in Chevron and some oil names. All right, that's going to do it for my 3 looks on the playbook. Of course, today is already taking a big beating, and a lot of that action coming right now in the pre-market. Let's take a look around at the market right now and see some different action that I think is concerning, as of course the financials are not being able to hold on. They still have been broken through kind of the VWAP from that bottoming around the 4760s, 47 overall. Let's see if we go and break that low here from Monday, which is 48.58. If we start to break that, watch out, because that could be the sign that we're going lower. Another area that we've been keeping a close eye is the industrial space. We were looking to see if we were able to hold on. Things were looking a lot better at 135. I will say that. Now they're not looking good, guys. We're right on the bottom. And if anything, we've gotten a couple undercuts through this 129. If we make a move to 125, that's going to be the next move that really starts to crush the market. That's the next move down in the SPY, going to 540s, 520s, maybe even 500, right? That's our bear market concern warning out there. That's below 500. If we get through there, and yeah, it ain't going to be looking good here, guys. But right now, kind of hanging in here. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a back and forth choppy day. Yesterday I was talking about the yo-yo action. It actually yo-yoed a couple of times. So we'll see what happens. Like always, I was able to make a really great trade yesterday. Let's talk a little bit about that one. That was on CSAI. Going to keep looking for some of these small names to kind of keep getting the jump. Yesterday, I rode CSAI all the way until a little bit past 8, almost 850, almost 860. Didn't get the big move towards 1146, but hey, not going to be mad. At that point, I already had like 50 shares, but got a nice little breakout on this one. CSAI was able to bounce back on the account, not only take back a max loss day, but actually a little bit more. So ready to keep battling in the funded account. It hasn't been easy, but there's only one way, guys. You got to keep getting after it. Keep that confidence in your abilities and what you know how to trade. Shane, what's up out there? How we doing, man? I think it's going to be a no trade day today for me. Just going to sit and watch. I can't blame you for that, Shane. Sometimes it's important to do that. And it's important to sometimes just stick to our own decision making, right? So right here, you're making a clear decision that maybe today's just not your day. Maybe the uncertainty in the play is keeping you on the sidelines. And that could be a smart move, right? Because after tomorrow, once all this starts to die down a little bit, we'll go back into more of a certainty in the market. What was that? Of course, just not worrying about downside action. But it doesn't mean that we can't make the money, right, Shane? We got to be looking around to see if there's opportunities. But today could clearly be a no trade day. And that's okay. I think that's what traders need to be able to do more often. Understand what really is their best trades and what are the worst trades. What are setups that they love to take that just don't work? And on days like today, those are the setups you have to avoid. Right? So we'll see what happens out there. Steph, what's going on? Jay Angelo in the chat. All you guys out there tuning in. It's good to see you guys. Definitely say hello in the chat and let me know what you're looking at today. And don't forget, like my man Tim says, and will be joining us a little later today, 100% cash is also a position. Yes, you don't want to forget that, right? We don't always have to be trading. I think that's one of the things that a lot of traders have a tendency of doing. They're what? They're addicted to trading. It's okay to be addicted to trading, but I think what you should be addicted to your process, addicted to the way that you go about things, addicted at your discipline, addicted that you focus on profit to loss ratio, that you focus on mathematics in trading. Try not to be addicted to the actual action. Realize that it's like playing a sport. You got to do the hard work before preparing and getting ready for the moment so that when the moment comes, you just act, right? Steph, what's going on? Any penny stocks on your radar? Let's take a look, guys. Let's go looking in the small cap space. Eli, what's going on? How we doing out there? Hey, let me know what's ticker you guys are watching out there, and we'll definitely take a look at that. Let's go to my scanner here and take a look at different names out there that we can find this morning, right? All right, guys, I'll pull up my scanner here so that we can take a look at it here. Of course, I got different kind of scanners that we can use. I'm going to pull up Benzinga Pro here just a second and see. There it is. I don't know why it's not coming up. There we go. The struggles. All right, guys. So let's take a look here at the scanners, see what's moving on the scans. Of course, right now we can take a look here, and I'll close this up so that we can kind of zoom in a little bit here to more of the stocks that you guys can see here on the screen. Let me know if that's big enough for you guys to see. All right, so Yoshi showing up again, man. I haven't seen the Yoshi move in a long time. Of course, we've been seeing multiple stocks get a big move, WTF, Newsmax, things like that. And don't forget, you can short these names, right? Which software is this? Well, this is Benzinga Pro right here. Well, you got TC2000 that was underneath that. This is right here is Benzinga Pro. So you guys can take a look at that. You guys can also get these as a partner of ours, of course. If you have one of our bigger programs, you can get that 30-day program and kind of check it out for yourself, right? Of course, if you also want to check out Benzinga Pro, you can go directly to them. I think they have a 2-week free period that you can go ahead and check it out. And if you need any help with scanners and setting up Benzinga, of course, I started with them, so I know exactly how to work it. All right. Well, IBG just showed up on the scanner, and Steph said IBG. Let's go taking a look at IBG and seeing what is it doing. Well, IBG. Let's take a look here. IBG just made a move there to 175. Nice looking pattern this morning. Did not catch this one underneath $1, but it already went above the $1, right? So this is a little bit too much for me on this one. This is already up 119%. Made a move above $1. A lot of times these stocks make a move above $1 and then come back to $1. So for me, the only way I'm playing this is that it comes back to $1 and then wants to make a move later in the day. But that's just me, right? Doesn't mean that that's how you got to go about it. For me, it's just I hate these penny stocks that become above $1 and then you're looking for maybe 2 or 3. It's very unlikely, at least from what I've seen in my time. So we'll see what happens here in IBG. Sideways levels around 128 and 125 around the hourly. That's kind of where I'd be looking for pullbacks to kind of hold. You can see you've pulled back to that area about 2 times on the hourly. Could come back to that 128 here and then make the move to 181. But to me, there's just not enough reward on IBG. And the way that I have to go about this is that you'll even hear the gurus and furus say that they don't like the ones near $1 or under $1 because they got to get such a big size amount for you to make good money. Like on a stock like this, 20 cents isn't really going to do it, right? You're looking here for about $1 return, or maybe it's 50 cents, 60 cents. You need to go a little bit higher in the size. And then that sizing brings a little bit more worry on the emotion side of things. Of course, then you also got to pay higher fees because you got to go higher in the share size. So just things to think about, right? All right, let's keep going. We'll take a look at different stocks out there. IBG kind of getting that lift there, but nothing drastic, right? Let's go ahead. Let's take a look at what else is making a move here. We got a Sportsman Warehouse. This one likes to make a move here, so we could take a look at that one. But you see that's also in the $1.39 range. I like the $3 stocks and things like that. So maybe Hub C would be the one that I'd be looking at. But just going through the scanners with you guys this morning. IBG 147. We'll see what happens on that one. Let's go take a look at SPWH to see how that's setting up. All right, this one looks like a better setup to me to see the trade happen now, right? So let's see if I can grab this one right quickly, guys. I don't mind the setup at all. I like that little wick back below 125, so that's going to be the risk zone for me. I need this to come back to 135 here. Come back to 135 and then go for that 140, 150 breakout. Could go running towards 2. Of course, if you look at this on the 15-minute, you're going to see what I'm looking at. And here you guys see a nice little trend, right? So here's your trend action here. You got about 2 patterns, right? Essentially a pattern reversal here and a bullish down action that happened here. We're looking to see if it can make its way back here towards the 155 and take out this 160. There's the 141 now starting to make the move. I could go for it, but I'd like it closer towards the 135. So why? So that I could risk towards that 125 bottom, right? If I take the trade here, I'd have to risk all the way towards that 122. It's about 22 cents in risk for a move of about what, 21 cents. So I don't like to do one-to-one trades. I'm looking for at least a minimum of 2-to-1 on, of course, the chart itself. But not a bad looking move here. Another thing you have seen here is the 15-minute cross has not happened yet. So the real momentum is not in it yet. So I'd be looking to see that this 1 minute can make a quick move down to the VWAP 135 and then take off through the 140. We'll see what happens there on Sportsman Warehouse. Which software is this one? That's the other one, right? Benzinga Pro, but this one's TC2000. You got to have multiple tools in the tool belt, guys. It can't just be one tool that you're using. All right, looking around to see if there's anything else that I'm catching here. IBG, of course, is the one that we were just looking at. We'll see if that one makes another move there. DGLY, Digital Alley, is one that's making a real penny stock move. That one's only 3 cents. Looking around to see if there's anything else in my scanner. A little tired today, guys. Got to shake it. All right, guys, back there towards the 420 European Wax Center. I don't even know what this one is, guys. I'd leave this one alone, but we'll see what happens there. Nice curl and break of the VWAP on WTF. Yeah, WTF was one that I was looking at this morning. The big problem with WTF is the spread. So if I would have taken this one, guys, I would have taken this one long at around, I'm not even sure. I think it was actually early. It was like before at 7. It was right over here when we broke above. We went to like 17, and then we pulled back to 1650. But the spread was 1650 by 16. So I needed to risk right off the start 50 cents. To me, that is way too much to risk there on this account especially. And so I did not get that run there towards 19, and then they eventually ran to 20, right? So this one's not looking bad. It's making moves, but to me, it's just too much on the spread. And the spread itself can really destroy you on a stock like this. So I like stocks that are moving fast, but that the spread can remain at least within 10 cents. In this case, it's right now about what, 20 cents, 30 cents, but I've seen it as wide as 50, 60, 70 cents wide. To me, way too spready for the trade. And Shane saying the same thing, too spready for my liking. And the reason why it's not a good thing is that on certain brokerage, maybe you might be able to kind of finesse the entrance on this, but the truth is it's going to be very hard. This is why I think that, you know, when a stock like this is something just to watch, maybe take a swing short, but you got to be so small that you can handle like a couple of dollars of risk, right? And then it wouldn't be a bad way to go about it. Same way on the long side. If you're going to go into a WTF, it'd be something that is so small that I can handle, like, let's say easily $2, $3, $4 of risk, right? And that has to be a low size, because even at 50 shares, right, that $4 is going to be $200, right? So what's the risk that makes sense here and how you can play it? Let's go to Newsmax. Newsmax was one that I was thinking about shorting into the close there, but man, can you imagine that type of trade, guys? It would be very hard to take that type of trade, but going into the close, a little part of me was like, man, this could be a good one, right? Well, you would have the risk at least there, $21 for you not to get stopped out, right? But it's back down to 188 and almost 200. Newsmax could get a lift above 200 today. I'd be looking for a push into this zone, right? And then a rejection. So as long as it's below this, or like taps it and below it, I'm still looking at it as kind of more of a short opportunity. But this is just too difficult. The spread, guys, $2 wide, right? But this could pop towards the 215.40s and then right back down through the 150. We'll see what happens there in Newsmax. I was seeing some of the companies that Newsmax was actually like valued more than, at least from where the price is right now. And it was just ridiculous, guys. This is just how sometimes you'll find these moves and you'll just be like blown away, let's just say. All right, let's go looking into the news out there. There's also some news that we can talk about on the Sunrise Report. There really wasn't too much, but let's just run through it really quickly and talk about some headlines that are in the market. Of course, all eyes on Trump today as they'll be taking effective immediately, but the White House is still debating on tariff levels. I think it's a little bit crazy that on the day that it's the Liberation Day and you've been planning this day for so long that you're still trying to decide what you're going to do. That is the reason the market is where it is today, because of the level of uncertainty that we are getting from this administration. And that is not a good thing, whether you support the administration or don't. I don't think that's a good thing, because the truth is, this is what it causes. It causes imbalances. And right now, we'll see how that imbalance plays out, right? Will we get to some balancing after we finally get the news? Of course, you guys know how we've been talking about that. We've been stating it with a phrase, right? That's usually the opposite. Usually it's buy the rumor and sell the news. And in this case, sell the rumor and buy the news. Why? The certainty level. We'll talk about that more, of course, with Michael Noss coming up. And of course, Tim will be joining us today. So excited to talk more about that. But definitely something to look at. And Newsmax was a crazy move. Let's just say that. All right, guys, we'll take a look around. And you guys heard me talking about it yesterday. I felt like it could be a trade, but it was just the spread, man. The spread on that thing is absolutely insane. Like, taking that spread, let's say you take it with 100 shares, you're down 200 before you even get a tick, right? To get out, you're going to need to lose. I think that's what you got to understand on a trade like Newsmax. You can take it, but you got to understand, essentially, it's like buying an option. Like, the amount that you're going in is pretty much at risk. We'll see what happens there in Newsmax. All right, let's keep going, traders. We'll see what else is out there. Let's go now to Boeing, as Boeing has been getting a lift as of late. But today's a big day for it, guys, as Boeing CEO will be on the hot seat before the Senate committee at 10 a.m. Eastern. So Boeing CEO will be facing, of course, a lot of questions as Kelly Orberg gets questions about safety, manufacturing, including, of course, the 2024 door plug blowout. Boeing's response, of course, sweeping changes have been made, but regulators remain speculative. We'll see what happens there in Boeing. Can it get a lift off of this report? Of course, you'll have to watch the Senate Conference Committee at 10 a.m. to hear him get grilled, and he is going to get grilled. It's something that I definitely will be looking at. All right, we did get ADP jobs report that came in a little bit light than expected. Or I think I actually came a little bit over. Let me actually pull that number here for you guys, just so you guys can actually see the number there. All right, let's talk a little bit more about that. You guys can see the number here. Let me just pull it up. 2 seconds here. All right, non-farm payrolls here came in at 155,000 versus 118 expected. So ADP came in pretty high there on the non-farm employment change. So that's something definitely to think about, something to look at. We'll see how that affects the market. Of course, that's already been in there, and we've been seeing the leak. The leak hasn't changed, essentially. So we'll see what happens there on ADP non-farm numbers. All right, let's keep it going, traders. Let's see what else that we can talk about. Let's go to Hims and Hers, as there's some news out on that stock. Of course, it was a favorite just a little while ago, and now it seems to be in the dumpster fire. And this is just how these stocks go. This stock, I can't believe it, but it's already taken more than a 50% haircut. Let's take a look at the chart here as you're seeing Hims pull back from the 70. This thing was up there. This thing got up there towards 72 on the high. And now we've pulled back towards 29.30s. We're down about, 59%, almost 60% in Hims and Hers. And the news, I don't think it's good, guys, but they are offering now Eli Lilly, Zedbound, and Mounjaro for about $1,899 a month. Generic Alternatives are at $299 a month, but require daily injections. So I don't know if you're interested in, just jabbing yourself every single day, but hey, you never know, right? Strategy expanding into holistic, personalized weight loss experience. So more of a experience with, of course, the drugs, right? Like some support and things like that. But to tell you the truth, it did get a little bit of a jump, but I don't think this jump is going to be able to hold here. One thing that did came out in the report that I think was interesting and that I caught was a comment that was asked to Eli Lilly. Well, what's going on here, Eli Lilly? Why are they offering your drug? Well, they just said, well, if you go through insurances or you go directly through us, it's actually cheaper. So then why would I go to Hims to get that drug? Doesn't make sense to me. That's why I think this catalyst is just that. It's just a PR trying to put out something positive when in fact it's a negative. We'll see what happens on that one. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the Sunrise report. There really wasn't too much. There was like a disaster stock that was down big. It's a cloud computing stock, but I think it's an overblown kind of opportunity. We'll talk a little bit more about that during the show. Let's go ahead. We'll kick things off in just a second here. But it's a big day, of course, Liberation Day from Trump. And I don't know about you guys, but I need more coffee. More coffee. Let's start this. Let's get things going. Start that countdown. It's time to go trading, guys. Google wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. Good morning, traders. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on the man, Michael Noss. What's going on, man? How we doing?
Not too much. Just still watching this Newsmax thing. This is...
I told you yesterday, I had that feeling it was going to keep going, but the hard part was I was trying to short it at the close, but of course there's no options on this stock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the hard part for me, Michael, because I was willing to be like, all right, well, how much is one of these contracts going to cost me, right? Because I was willing to take a lotto attempt, like I'll short this bad boy, but with just the idea that any of that money was pretty much gone, right? That's how you have to look at this if you're trying to go about it. But I also mentioned on a different show because everybody was talking about it. Well, where can I short Newsmax? Where can I short Newsmax? Well, in Trade the Pool, you can do just that, right?
You can. I don't know if you should, but you can.
You can, though. You can.
Yeah.
And I think that's an opportunity within itself. I talked about it on Trader TV, too. There's not many times where you can short these new IPOs right out the gates and things like that. So there's something to think about, right? It could be a strategy within that you have. Of course, an advantage that Trade the Pool offers you. But the key difference and the key determining factor is that spread, man. That spread is just...
$3 right now. Yeah. Nuts.
And honestly, I'm trying to think, how could I go about something like that? The only way I could think of would be to do an insanely tiny size and do an insanely large ladder approach to get an entry, right? Where I'm like
a share at a time.
Yeah, a share at a time, and I'm gonna put this out between $10, and I'm like. And I'm gonna be like, well, if you go through some of these, at some point you should hit some orders and get some better fills, right? Because that's the truth. That's the hard part of doing it. You got to put it within the spread and above the spread, if anything, if you're trying to short it. But man, what an absolute rocket ride as that thing went all the way up, and this morning all the way right back.
Yeah,
but it's not like it's almost like a measured move today. We'll see what happens on that one. What do you see?
Well, it's it will come to an end at some point, right? It's one of those things that the best example I can see is always this HKD. It was the same kind of thing. This thing went IPO with some sort of crazy float. There was like 100,000 shares in the float. After you took what one individual owned most of the entire float. And this thing legitimately, like, this isn't a reverse split or anything, legitimately went from $21 to $2,500 a share. And these are daily candles. So in just a couple days, just absolute insane type of move. And then again, of course, comes all the way back down. People go, oh, this is
For Long Island iced tea.
Yes, that Long Island blockchain. But yeah, this was the same thing. So that's what's going on with Newsmax. I looked into it a little bit. There's 7 million shares in the float, and there's a lot of rumors on the street that someone just bought some guy right out the gate, bought like 1 million shares on day one. So now there's only really 6 million shares in the float. So when you get incredibly low floats like that, they can definitely move. Again, it's just one of those things where the party will come to an end at some point. So make sure you're not at the party when it does, but it doesn't mean that I would short it aggressively up here. I do like your idea of, if you're going to, take like 1-2 shares at a time and kind of leg your way into it. Because it will break at some point. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, but at some point it will, and it'll come back down to a reasonable price. But that's what makes the shorting game so hard. You never know when. You never know when that's going to happen.
Yeah, and the truth is even the long, the same approach. At least that's the way I'd be looking at it. If you're trying to play that long, well, then you also got to be careful for that to happen to you, right? You go too big on the offer because you start seeing it move a little bit. Next thing you know, the bid just drops out on you, and before you even getting a tick or two, just from that bid spreading out, you're already down big, right? And so it's difficult, guys. And there's a reason why I can almost 99% guarantee it that you won't see Michael and I trading a move like this, because we know it.
No.
It's too much risk for the reward. That's just what it is.
And I think that's exactly right, where it's one of those, and it all comes down to your goal on trading. For me, again, as a systematic trader, I just want to find something that I can do over and over and over and over again. This is one of those 1 in a million events that occurred. So even if I nail it this time, that doesn't mean that it's made me a better trader in any way. It just means something crazy went happen and kind of I got lucky on it, right? The real thing for me is, is there a setup that I can nail? So, part of this is just part of the routine that I'm doing now for the show, where when I'm scrolling through Twitter at night, I'm just saving some pictures that I like. And this one was great from Michael Batnick, who's one of the compound guys, just showing the insane difference. This is the year-to-date performance. The blue line is the Mag 7, and then the black line, or the darker blue line, that's everything else in the S&P 500. So just to show kind of a stark difference of what's going on here, and something that a good way to illustrate all the time. We talk all the time about the RSP. The average stock is up this year. It's up 0.5%, so it's not up a lot, but the average stock is doing well. It's the big guys, the ones that got all the media attention, those are down 15%, and that's what's dragging down these indexes, because they're cap weighted.
And I think about what has changed, right? What has changed for this to happen, right? If I look at the big boys, what was driving their growth was talks of AI, right? And AI investments. And if I look at what has changed in the recent kind of quarters, is just that exuberance of AI to slowly kind of go to a lower rest, right? It's not so, it doesn't give you that same kind of return immediately, right? There was a time where if you just mentioned AI, you got a lift. That is slowly died down, right? And so now I think what's more important is what? Bottom line focus, right? Sometimes we're focused on growth. We're just what are you doing to drive the bus further, right? But then there's times where the bus slows down. And when that happens, we start to look a lot at the bottom line. What is actually growing here? And I think that what we started to see is that the Mag 7 really didn't have too much to look forward to other than AI. And I think that that's what we're noticing here. One stock that has me concerned, and I want to continue to watch it, is Google. Because Google has been one of those stocks that for a long time I was like, and you guys even hear it on the show intro, 200, baby. Google wants 200. Well, look how long it stood in that 200. It was very short lived. And that's a lot of search concerns with AI that are starting to go away, right? Remember that Google drives majority of its revenue from search, and search is slowly changing, right? The dynamics of data are slowly changing. I think this is going to be important for tech overall in the long term.
Well, yeah, and it also means, and I'm sure this is what you're getting at as well, is that, it's not like there was a big AI explosion or anything like that. What happens is the market prices things in. So as the AI thing becomes more known, and we know, okay, this is roughly how many GPUs NVIDIA can make and sell and all that stuff, it gets priced in. So then there's no more upside. As soon as the story is understood and fairly priced, that's the end of the story, right?
The juice is gone now, right? The juice is gone, man.
And that's why we see NVIDIA hasn't moved. Like, it's not up, it's not down, hasn't moved since May 2024, right? It's because
it just doesn't know where to go. Yeah, it doesn't know where to go.
It's hanging out. We move. The market doesn't move based off news that everybody knows, and that is right. As soon as everybody knows the news, as soon as everybody knows everything, it is priced into the market, right? What the market moves on is imbalances, right? So
exactly
during this period of time, people were underestimating how much NVIDIA would make by selling GPUs. And during this time, pretty much everyone in the world knows what NVIDIA is going to make by selling GPUs. So,
dude, I saw a post and it just went to show me, yeah, the top was there. I saw some post on like Wall Street Bets. This guy's like, yeah, I mortgaged the house, I mortgaged all my credit cards, I did all this, and it's all long NVIDIA options. I was like, oh my God, dude.
Well, and that's what back in the day they called the shoeshine boy indicator, right? Is that, again, once it's out there, then again, everyone knows. This is why we're always, me and Mitch, we're always looking for potentially what is next, right? What is when we're hunting under the hood, like we're looking at the strength and financials, we're looking at this, that, and the other thing, because the money goes somewhere. When people sold NVIDIA, right? Yeah, that Wall Street Bets guy probably got handed on NVIDIA. Most people made a butt ton of money. The question is now that they're taking profits, is what are they going to do with them, right?
Yeah.
What's
the next thing down the line, right? There's always another hype word down the line. I that's one thing I've definitely learned in my investing years and in the stock market. There's always another hype word, right? And so you always need to be like kind of combing, whether it be the internet, whether it be different sources out there, just trying to grasp a little bit of what they call alpha, right? Because alpha comes quick. And if you're not looking for these trends, by the time you see them, they're already been bought. It's hard to jump on a rally in the middle of the rally, right? And that's what a lot of traders struggle with.
The middle of the rally, I would say, is okay, right? If the problem is, right, the meat of the move. Like, so if you're trading NVIDIA, I don't think you have to be here, right, during the first move. I don't think you need to be that early. You could be anywhere after that. It's the problem is the people who are buying up here,
at the top,
right? And this is where, you'll see it all the time on every forum, on every TV station, on everything. And again, hasn't moved, hasn't done anything in a huge period of time, and might stay like that for a long period of time, right? The only things that will move NVIDIA out of the space is if it starts to sell more GPUs than people expected, or it starts to sell less GPUs than people expected, right? So yeah, it was just interesting to see that, going back to that chart, again, the Mag 7 is what's pulling things down. Everything else is doing okay. And this is why I think it's important that people always zoom out and look at something like the RSP, which is going to do a better job at representing what that average type price looks like, right? So, if we go back to January, this is where the year-to-date number is, right? So this is the January candle, and haven't moved in a year. But again, it's the big guys, right? So that's why when you're looking at these indexes, it's always important to know what is it representing? The SPY, the Qs, all that kind of thing. That's just large cap tech. It's different wrappers on large cap tech. So because that's just down doesn't mean that the rest of the world has to be down. So that I think should be more encouragement to everyone else. It also means that if your portfolio is getting hammered, well, you're kind of in the wrong stuff, because I just showed you the average is doing okay. So it means that, a bunch of stocks are up on the year and a bunch of stocks are down on the year. So you want to start hunting for those ones that are holding up okay and try to find that relative strength.
Well, you mentioned something a short while ago that I think is important, and you mentioned imbalances, right? Imbalances is a lot of the times of when we have uncertainty, right? And I think we're going through one of the biggest imbalances moments right now, which is the tariffs, guys. And the tariffs are an imbalance into the market. That's what happened. Why are we down? Because there's the imbalance of uncertainty in knowing what was actually going to come out. Still to this very day, there's reports right now that they're still talking about what they're going to finally end up doing today, right? I think that's the uncertainty that the market's playing right now. Now, tomorrow we'll have that certainty back on where we know what is given, right? And I think that that's why Michael and I are so even in that camp of more of that sell the rumor, buy the news, just because of that, right? Not trying to complex things about what actually comes out tonight. Is it 20? Is it 25%? Is it 20% in steel? Is it 19? Not trying to complicate it there, just thinking about uncertainties and certainties. And I think in this case, it's clearly that the market is scared and doesn't know what's coming. And tonight we'll finally have that answer. Now, what do economists try to pull out from that information will definitely be something that gets played into, but I don't think it will be so short-term looking, right? And I think
I
that
always
that's
like
why I'm in the short term still a little bit into the push up. But today's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. Just to kind of make a mention, because I know a lot of our traders like these small caps, SPWH doing the move that we talked about, pull back to 135, just broke towards that 147. It's a small name, but we talked about the move potentially here of a hold of that 135 VWAP and then going back up. We'll see what happens on that small name.
Yeah, and that's a good way to focus. I think especially today, because when I went through my scans in the morning for these VWAP cross things, I found nothing. Johnson and Johnson was the only
nothing.
Didn't trigger yesterday, so watching it maybe today to see if it triggers, but that is like the only idea I have on tap. And I think it's going to be one of those days to either play the chop that the market's going to give you. So that's something I'm going to watch just from the S&P 500 point of view, levels to bounce off of, things like that. Or, right, do what Steph does and trade these crazy names, right? RSLS and yes, $1.50 down to 67 cents. These kind of ones, just because they don't care about markets and tariffs and things like this, right? They're trading just off whatever catalyst is occurring that day. But for myself, who likes kind of the larger cap type stocks, it's gonna be a pretty slow one, I think, just because
here's one that I think could go off today is oil, guys. So I'm watching oil. I'm watching WTI to see what happens with that. We can take a look at different kind of oil outlook there. Just looking to see if it can start making a move. For me, WTI is important to crack 71 and start making your way back to, let's say, 75, 77. If we can make that move to 77, I think that's what starts the lead and the breakout in XLE. So I think the XLE has been pretty much sideways here and waiting to see what would happen in the spot price, right? Like, are we going to get a run there? Because if we don't get a run there, if let's say oil goes to 60s, well, this XLE move would probably just get flushed again, right? And so that's why I'm focused on that aspect right now. Chevron was the name that I put in the playbook just because it's hanging out here sideways and can't even break to the 9 EMA. That's a good sign for me. When a stock can't even come back to the 9 EMA, that just shows me that even on days where it's not moving, it's not running into heavy selling into this move. And one thing that I've been catching, Michael, and I think you'll like this, is that the big boys, names that I focus on, like let's say like a Craig Johnson, like a big name like that, where are their focus and what are they talking about a lot? They're talking a lot about oil during this time. They're taking a step out from the uncertainty and they're talking a lot about names like Enbridge, like ENB. And they think that drilling is going to happen here and going to continue to grow. And this ENB chart has just been kind of climbing since 2024. Drill, baby, drill. I think that's one thing that you need to be thinking about here, right? We'll see what happens, but definitely oil names are something that I saw them mention, and it wasn't just one. It was realizing that XLE, and if you think about it overall, Chevron's been in a sideways trend since all the way back in 2022, guys. We're finally looking to break out of that 3-year trend. And 3-year trends, are important to look to see a big break because the amount of money that could have been piled in could be massive, right? So we'll see what happens there on oil today. We'll be watching some of those.
Yeah, so this could be another way to potentially trade it, right? So OIH is the oil services ETF. So it will just contain a whole bunch of not so much people that would benefit necessarily off the price of oil itself, but more about the ability to drill and the ability to do things like that. It could be a good place to keep an eye on. Looking at the market this morning, again, a little bit of a bleed.
Man, the VIX did it to me early, man. I wanted to trade the VIX today, but it's already done the move. I feel like that's the hard part.
Moving that down, but so I'm looking at kind of called yesterday. Right, we talked about with Steve here that we kind of expected yesterday just to be a little bit of a lame inside day, and it was technically it broke yesterday's range, but not by much. Right, broke out yesterday's high just a little bit, then came back in. I kind of expect the same thing today, right? So I just drew out yesterday's range in through here, and I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the day we are in that yesterday's range still. Like that wouldn't surprise me at all. Just showing that there's not a lot going on, right? Everyone's kind of waiting for the big man to say something on whatever this Liberation Day is going to turn out to be. So we all wait, and tomorrow and then Friday, I think, are both going to be very big days in the market. That's my bet, is that people are gonna. So I'm not trusting any move that happens today. So moves down, I'll be looking to buy. Moves up, I'll be looking to sell. And then tomorrow, I'll look for more breaks and continuations in one direction or the other.
And the thing, and of course, with Trump speaking at 4, it's going to make it hard, right? Like, I wish it was at 9:30, but it's not.
I wish get him up early, get the old guy up
early. Hit him right on the open, man. That would have been great. But
it's something we could wait for. Now we've got like next to nothing, right? We've got some factory orders. It's a 2-star event.
Economics today, I wouldn't worry about it. It's mainly you do get some tomorrow. I will say that you get some that come in, right? Initial jobless claims, things like that tomorrow. Yeah. But the big thing is Friday's job report, right? Friday's jobs report could be a big one. This could be the one that could start to show some of those federal workers, not all of them, but some of them could start to show up on this. That's what people are watching for. What did Doge do to the economy, right? What did Doge do to the workers, right? And then unemployment. That's been a big focus from people out there. And it just hasn't shown up in the numbers, right?
No, and everything. And again, it's one of those that I think it's known, right? You can look up the numbers, the amount of people they laid off. So it's expected, right? And it's one
Yeah,
of those
it's
that,
expected,
you know,
right?
as
We're
soon as
going to see
it's
a jump eventually in unemployment. I think that's one of the things that is an expectation now. The question is, does other things break in the economy, and do we get other jobs, right, to actually start going down?
right. Yeah. So it's, yeah, the whole, that particular report is, or what happened with the government workers. They know how many are laid off. So you better believe that the Goldman Sachs guys have already updated their models with that. I think it's more, um, I think everything's on this tariff report, right? Because again, like we talked about with Nvidia, as soon as something's known, it's priced in, and it's useless to us and it's boring. What becomes interesting is the stuff that's not known, right? What becomes
Mhm.
interesting is the stuff that people are waiting for some sort of event to resolve itself, and that is what's Trump going to say about tariffs, or those are the things that we don't know. So those I think will dramatically move things.
Yeah.
So yeah, next two
One
days I think
area
will be
that we saw move yesterday, Michael, I think is a very important area to watch is that healthcare trade, right? And we did see it get hit hard with Johnson and Johnson,
yep,
but I mentioned the rumor mill yesterday about how a lot of people were talking about how no pharma tariffs were supposed to be mentioned. That could be one of the surprise ones, right? So
yep,
I'm looking to see if that's the surprising one. And you have it drawn there perfectly, right? I mean, that's a little bit of a scary chart there, right? And I think it leaves also room for a big gap down towards those supports on the chart. And so I don't know, man. This is going to be one of those where it's a tough one, right? Also,
yeah,
the environment for healthcare is a little bit concerning with JFK and being a little bit more radical than others have been in his position, right?
a
And
little
I
bit.
think
Yeah.
that leaves room here for maybe some pharma tariffs to come in, right? If you make your drugs outside of the United States, well, guess what? Now you get charged for that, right? I don't know. It
Yeah,
leaves room. There's room there. There's room there. And I think that that slight mention of, oh, it's not going to be thinking, it's not going to be included, just put me on at least a concern, right? That
yeah,
I always try to catch those little snippets, and I'm just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, think a little bit, maybe the opposite of that, and what could happen because of that, right? So I'll be watching today to see if maybe we just get some sign of some quick leak in XLV to give us that kind of warning ahead of time. We'll see what happens today, guys. XLI, XLF also on the struggle today, man. Sector wise, it seems like a lot of things are on the dip, and we'll see if we get continued consumer staple breakout too. XLP strong 2 days, even though we had kind of an up move in the market, we had an up move also in staples.
yeah. So we have Tesla kind of leading the charge down, and then you can see again most things gray, right, up or down less than 1%. Tesla really being the bear here with, you know, missing, not shipping out as many cars as they're supposed to. Obviously, not going to be a good thing, uh,
Yeah, man.
right?
I'm telling you, Tesla 200, 200. We got our lunch bet, Michael. I
Well,
got
we'll
a little
see.
worried yesterday. I was like, oh man, we're turned to 270s already.
Well,
This
we'll just wait
delivery
until,
report.
I don't know. My whole bet is that, right, the guy who's best friends with the president of the United States, it's something I want to bet on and not so much against. But
I think
again,
it'll be
we'll
a
see.
fun level to watch for a whoosh bottoming event, right? So we could have a whoosh bottoming event, right, where it gets this kind of bottoming on Tesla towards this kind of V bottoming, right? I've had this drawn for a while now, this kind of V bottom shape. I'm thinking, I'm not going to be like trying to short Tesla too much, especially on these next couple of days, because we don't know what's going to happen here. But I'm looking to see what happens if we get like this kind of where we do go down, maybe slightly undercutting 242, and then start heading back through the 270s. That will be kind of more of my, okay, bullish move. You kind of whoosh, you fake to the down, and then start to come back up, right?
Yep.
We'll see what happens on that one. The sign of concern for Tesla bulls, I think, would be like you're back at 210, right? You're back at 210. I think 200 is like a magnet off of that long-term trend. And then you start to break this whole trend to the left-hand side. and all those bulls start to get underwater. That's what I think needs to happen first for Tesla's big ride up. And that's why I'm more 200 first. But we'll have to wait and see. The truth is, with Tesla and Elon and Trump in this situation, a lot of uncertainty. The auto side is really struggling on Tesla. I really do think that. But Tesla does have some things up its sleeve, of course, with the robotics and autonomous.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting market. It's going to be an interesting push.
Ooh,
to
look at
see
the action in
what happens
Pepsi
here.
right now. That's just interesting for me. Pepsi. I don't know if that 5-minute wick is real, but I've got a wick down from 149.35 all the way up there back to 150.27.
Yeah, I
I'll
don't
show you
see
guys
it.
that. 5-minute here. I don't know if it really did sell some down there, but that's a pretty big wick there. We'll see what happens on Pepsi and some consumer staples here, guys. About to be opened up. Let's see what happens today, guys. We'll
Yeah,
see what
1
happens
minute.
in WTF. What the?
Just, that, is a great indication and a great, to show you what's happening in this market, right? So,
I just want to laugh at the regulators. It's like, come on, you didn't look down and just be like,
yeah.
like,
Well, I think if we were in an environment that I thought we could regulate, at some point you'd imagine they would say, okay, you can't be a stock if you have less than X float, right? Because that's what's going on with these crazy guys. They've got absolutely no float, so they can move just so insane. So it seems like the easiest way to kind of fix this, which is definitely killing most retail traders. I know probably the people in this room are having a great time with them, but what's hurting most retail traders is there's no float, so there's nothing
all
there's
right,
nothing to
guys.
trade.
We're open. Let's go get it, team. Let's go get it today. Ding, ding, ding. You know how they say. Let's go, team.
All right, so there's Johnson & Johnson triggered right there, right off the open. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on here.
All right. Looking at SPWH. Might take a shot here off the 133 here. Quick trade here. We'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and see if we get a nice little quick trade in these small stocks that have been making moves lately. Looking for some volume really to come in. I saw a couple 10,000 share orders around the 140s. So let's see if we can get some bigger orders in the 140s. There's a big wall there at 143, 27,000 shares there at 143. So that's going to take some to get through. But now I'm seeing the bids really get stacked 140, 139, 135. So definitely they're stacking it on SPWH. Let's see if it really starts to make the move. Above 150 is a big watch, and then see if it breaks towards 2. But we'll see what happens here. If I measure the flag pattern, I can see about 30 cents from this breakout. That's about 170. So it's nothing too big if I just measure the flag.
Yeah, the only other one that I did have on my list that I was going to watch was this JYD thing that's down from $7 to 90 cents. But I've just taken that. I've just taken that completely off the list. I'm not interested in that name.
T-Tech. All right, we'll see if I can find some. There goes SPWH above the 140s towards the 145.
Can make a move through there, on but oil here off the open, and the SPY bouncing just a bit.
Let's take a look at that.
Look at the SPY, but then we can look at CL for the oil futures. A little bit of a pop there off the open. Still has a lot of post-market range to get through, but first move has definitely been positive there. And then the SPY is starting to bounce, getting 2 VWAP. So I took J&J just because it triggered on this 5-minute candle right before the market opened. So the target there is 155.73. Oh, already going. So that'd be great to be one and done today. Would be fantastic just because of the what we expect to happen a little bit later in the market.
There's SPWH. There's 150, guys. So not a bad one there. Good move there in SPWH. It's not a big move, but it's definitely one of the top movers right now. TTEC, another one that I'm seeing jump up on the scanners, just broke towards the 444s. I like that one. It's looking good here. I might be able to jump on that one here. Yeah, and I need to risk off the 420s here, but doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, so nice little push right off the gate on the SPY, getting close to VWAP here. Kind of bled all morning down, so the little pop off the open's kind of interesting. Again, this blue line, instead of being the pre-market low, because we're just right there, is yesterday's low, and then this is yesterday and post-market's high. So right, we're still pretty much in the middle of that. I expected at least a flush of yesterday's low. So if we don't even get that and we start ripping off the gate, it could be a strong day. But again, like I mentioned this morning, I'm not trusting any move in the market today either way, just because I don't think there's any large players that are placing bets this morning, right? They're either going to place bets after the speech or most likely tomorrow when the market opens. I think you're going to see a resolution of whatever was said. So we're just kind of waiting there. Newsmax is actually falling here pretty dramatically. It's down. The moves on this thing are insane. So on this one bar, this opening 5-minute bar, that's a 20% move on the first 5 minutes on Newsmax, which is just wild for a stock, especially that expensive. So just continuing to look around and continuing to see what's going on. All right,
guys,
here.
Trying to take a scalp here on TTEC. Let's see if we can get this going here above the 450s. I think it's an important watch to see it break through the 450s here quickly. And just like that, the spread winding out there towards 425 and coming back here. So might take a $50 hit here off of the 420s there. But big watch there. We'll see what happens. TTEC.
So yeah, Johnson & Johnson came close. I didn't get any off. I think I might regret that, but who knows? My plan on this one is to take most and then hold the rest for maybe a recovery move after this insane day that we had yesterday. You know, halfway in that move's kind of like 158. So that's certainly possible just to bounce that much, but we'll see. We'll see. I may have regretted not being able to punch out some in this move. SPY still holding on here. Closed 5-minute candle at highs. A little green arrow alert there for breaking VWAP. And then we have oil here is moving as well. I just have this on a screen over there because Mitch was talking about it. So a nice little pop up there. First opening 5-minute range. Positive.
Yeah, not a bad one to look at. I'm looking at the gusher today. We'll see if it gets back above 27.
Gosh.
The gusher.
So yeah, this oil and gas explorers. So that'll be more drillers than actual oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
USO. Is it UCO? Yeah, UCO. Might be one to look at as well. So that's just ultra. That's just 2x leveraged oil. Just directly.
All right, watching for TTEC to get the move now. If it doesn't move here, I'll probably just cut it.
CRWV stuff is playing. Always this crazy stuff. Oh, that core weave, yeah.
I
think core weave, funny enough, even though it's completely unrelated, is going to be correlated to Newsmax. And I think if Newsmax gives up the ghost today, which it looks like it's doing quite a bit, then I think these other, what the WTF and this other one might move with it, just because it was just kind of a moment in time where all these things got super interesting.
All right, guys, we'll see if TTEC can start to make the move. It's right off the 440s, looking to see if it breaks the 450s, back down through the 430s, and I'll just get out. SBFM showing up on the scanners. SBFM. Pepsi straight down out the gates. The VIX straight down out the gates. Yeah. So like I thought, the move was already done in the pre-market, so it's like on that pullback.
Yeah, so the SPY is rallying here.
Yeah, you're getting a decent rally.
Pretty hard. So we're getting into the 2-day VWAP there on the SPY. So that might be an interesting one to potentially take a short off of.
I think the 555 level is an important level today. Teletech Holdings might stop me out here. Kind of chopping back and forth. I gave it a couple seconds here. Now just dropped the stop there. It's back towards 440s, but I dropped the stop there for about $40 of risk here. We'll see if it starts to make the move and gets back there. Breakout on this, I feel like could be above fives. Pre-market high, after hours high, essentially 480s.
So this is one that I'm, again, a setup I've been talking to you guys a lot for is a big thrust into a 2-day VWAP for a potential reversal. So let's watch this one here and just see if there'd be enough here to take a scalp. This would be another scalp type setup along with the VWAP breakout, right? Just again, just showing how one setup that I've been trading for a long time can lead to another one. I was just shocked how often things would hit the 2-day VWAP in reverse. So we're pretty much getting right there on the SPY right now. So if we start to tap that and put in a topping tail or something like that, it might be an interesting short. Again, start take these things small as we try to test this strategy, because then if we do, that's something else that we could systematize down the road, like we've done with the AVWAP breaks.
SBFM looked great off that 359 EMA pullback there after getting close to 4. It went to 390, but just a small name that I'm looking at, guys. Wasn't able to take that trade as I'm in still TTEC, but looked really interesting on that 350 pullback. Wolf showing up, guys, as Petco's CEO did a sign of support there and bought about 4.72 million. Wolf. Insider buy.
Or the WULF one, or
Wolf.
All these.
Wolf.
There's TerraWolf, and then there's a Wolf that's a pharmaceutical company, and then there's
Wolf. WOOF. Wolf.
Ah, that one. Yeah,
barking. The dogs are barking, man.
That's actually an interesting little chart. Gap up and then hold, and then a continuation move today.
All right, I think I'm going to get washed out here in TTEC. Just hasn't made the move to the 450s there. So more than likely going to get cut out here. We'll see what happens. Hanging out on the VWAP, but could easily break it and then try to recover, but I'm not going to hang out for that move.
Johnson going again. Just looking for a little bit of a pop closer to the 2-day VWAP to take most of the position off. Then I'll leave the stop the low of the day. Hold
Here's
the rest,
one that's been
happens.
hot, guys. Small cap. I got to put it on alert. RCAT. That's a nice looking trend change on the daily. That's a drone player. I'd keep an eye on it. Okay. Nothing even that you need to trade today, but 2 days in a row where I'm seeing it like really start to change the trend. And it's a drone player. I think drones will come back into the conversation, guys. You know how I'm all about the themes, so I keep a watch on it, right? Not that I want RCAT right now or need RCAT, but nice looking trend as it starts to change that trend.
Newsmax moving, not halted. I've been shocked just at the fact that this thing hasn't halted so far today.
What about what the halted twice already?
Yeah, that's a little bit, I guess, newer. Maybe it's just adapted to the rules have adapted to the volatility, but that one looks like it could be breaking down here as well. So breaking down under VWAP there.
And Newsmax, it was a interesting short there. It did collapse there, man.
And it's funny, you look at the chart and you go, oh yeah, it's down a little bit. And then you just remember the scale of these moves. So from the pre-market high to now, it's a 31% down move. It's just crazy. These things are just insane.
Yeah, that's why I just got to find ways of playing them, man. Even if it's the one share ladder like approach on a demo, it's a tough one, man.
Two shares? You'd be up if you shorted 2 shares off the open. You'd be up $100 on 2
I
shares.
mean, just think about it
Like,
even from the top there, 5 shares or 2 shares or something like that. I mean, you know, it's 138 points off the top there.
yep. So yeah, 2 shares, you're up 260, and
You
right,
know,
what's really going to happen with 2 shares if it goes to you wake up the next morning and it's $1,000 and you're like, oh damn, right? You're down $2,000. Like that's sucks, but that's like the
yeah.
craziest scenario that would ever happen. So there's no world where 2 shares could hurt you so much that you're outside your house holding a cup. So yeah,
All right, guys. Finally starting to get a little bit of a move here in TEEC. Let's see if we can get some of these small cap moves. Let's see it, guys. Here it goes to 455. Will it make the move? Breakout pullbacks to 440s kind of make sense here for reloads. It went to 456. Looking to see if it can really do a takeoff. Volume jump there at least. That's going to help. 111,000 starting to come into the name. So let's see if we can get a little breakout here. Take some profits. Get a nice early trade towards like 5. I'd like to see it.
So I took, speaking of very small trades, a very, very small trade in shorting the SPY. And the reason for was, again, this push up to the 2-day VWAP right there. We talked about this a bunch of times where sometimes, well, often we see these being as support and resistance. So the idea is just more of a kind of almost small enough that you could almost consider it a paper trade. Right? You're risking near nothing on it, and if you're right and it reverses back down to about this VWAP, looking to take a trade and then just risking kind of to the high of the day. So again, just another idea for a potential 1-to-1 scalp, looking for these 3 5-minute bars up in a row, hitting that level, just seeing if it's going to come down a little bit for some of these revision scalp ideas that I have.
Try my best to stay on the bigger time frames for that TTEC. If I do that, then it still looks really good here. It could hold, it could reload at 430. 15-minute chart still looking good. Just crossed over on the 15 on that candle. So just got to hold on a little bit here on TTEC. Maybe even be willing to get out and then get him back in it. It's still building pretty well.
It's funny, one playing a crazy low float dealie and the other one playing Johnson & Johnson, which is one of the biggest companies in the market. So it just shows the different ways to skin the cat, right?
I love it, man. I honestly, it takes years to be able to play something like that, and maybe even move back and forth into another name like that. But the Johnson & Johnson, I think the talc like response is always overblown. So I think that's a fun trade to trade often. So we'll see what happens. Johnson & Johnson to me is also, of course, one of those value names in the XLV, right? So that's why I think it was getting that nice little lift. Here comes TTEC trying to break through the 460s. I'll look to see if it gets through there. If it can get through the 460s, I might take an ad and then break even, but we'll see. Here it goes. Now getting back up there. Volume increasing into this. I want to see the volume get a nice spike on the breakout here of the 460.
Yeah, nice. That one's looking close to a breakout, and then the SPY looks like that's not going to work, at least today. So we'll look to trade that one again. Again, I can't get any information from just trading one setup there, but it is an idea that I want to test, that 2-day VWAP play.
Comes the 460 break. There's 460s. Volume jump there. Now I'm looking for a slight dip below it. There it is. Gonna take it and then hold on a short risk here. Just looking for the expansion above here, guys. Let's see if we get it on TTEC. Not getting it just yet.
So the SPY is rejecting off that zone. I haven't quite got stopped there. Again, this is a meaningless amount of money on this on this trade, but again, just starting to test, because then when I export my trades at the end of the day, I can tag this one as 2-day VWAP play, and then see what over time what they go up with. It's another way that for people who want to systematize trades, right? You should always be journaling and tagging your trades. So if you're going to start trading a new style, you can just do it with a couple shares. So you're risking $5 to make 10 kind of thing. And then at least it shows up in your journal when you tag the trade as a 2-day VWAP bounce.
All right, looking to get the jump now, guys. I even put the break-even stop on TTEC here, guys. So I'm just looking for it to jump, or I get out break-even now. So I love when I'm in these situations. I feel like these are situations of strength, especially when you're playing small caps. It's about kind of not taking the full-on haircut where you lose everything in the ears. You want to be able to take, like, it's okay to get out. It's okay to get out. It's okay to get out. Then it works for you, right? And so in this case, I sized up. I even took a bigger shot. Now I'm looking for the breakout. It needs to go. I'll show you guys that chart right here. We'll see if it gets going here.
Like we talked about in the pre-market, a pretty meaningless number, but there is one that's a 2-star event in 10 minutes. Again, I don't expect it to be too much, but sometimes even before these meaningless numbers, the market can just stall just right before them and then pick up again after. So that's 10 minutes from now.
Of course, the reason why this one looked so good was the rule of 3, right? Up 1, down 1, up 2, down 2, up 3, down 3. Then started to hold it, adding more volume. Just classic trade for me. Not saying it's going to be, the best trade in the world, but definitely something that's more up my sleeve.
Yeah, the SPY is continuing its slow grind up. So right off the open, right, there was a buy program or something just kicked in right off the open, just got everyone all excited. Yeah, we just continue to grind higher. So still not outside of yesterday's range. So not, something like you're super thrilled the market's ripping, but it's one of those. And to be honest, I kind of wish we were down today, just because I think selling off into this event would probably increase the likelihood that the market rips after it. So us grinding higher into this event, to me, actually makes it a little bit more of a chance that we're going to go the other way, which is just no fun.
Little wall at 470, but not seeing much action pick up here on TTEC. I could leave room for a VWAP pullback here, so I'm going to go back to break even on the stop here. It's at 463s. I could just take 10 cents. That's not really going to do it for me here. I need at least a break towards the 480s and 490s. So we'll see what happens there, and I'll show you guys the position. It's right there at the bottom. Let me just lower this a little bit here. There you go. You guys can see it there.
The market just continues its slow grind higher. Let's take a look at the other Qs. The same way, made it through that 2-day VWAP much quicker. We even have IWM, which is our small caps, are participating.
Doesn't look too bad there. SPWH going back to the 140s.
Pretty much.
IBG, that one's hung in there. SPY doing well, guys. SPY doing well. We'll see if we can get into our first pullback area.
Yeah, we are. Mid caps have actually turned green over everything else, which is funny, but yeah, the SPY doing well, and the Qs still down, but down like 0.2% of the day, just showing that this is just kind of a calm day in the market, as expected. Right?
I think, the one thing that was telling me that trend was that VIX trend this morning. I was like, yeah, it's not how you're not going to just take off from here. It's probably at least give you a pullback. I think I'm looking for it to get down to 51. If it can get down to 51 or somewhere in here, this is still that same anchored VWAP, 51.45. So it's 51.45 to 51, somewhere in that area. I'll look for a flip right back.
And
See
we
what
have
happens.
biotechs actually leading the charge with XBI showing some good strength off the bottom here.
It's also the area that's been hit the hardest, right? In health, right?
Yeah.
As of late, biotech. So it's kind of like a little reversal day, right? You're seeing it there at least on some of those names. Let's see if there's any big name that stands out to us. See NTLA up almost 8%. That's not a bad one. That's not a bad name to bring up. NTLA. Boom.
Yeah.
I got out of the TTEC there, guys. Break even, pretty much. Filled order there. 50-cent loss there. It can keep going, but it's just so slow. Remember when with these names, it's not for me about hanging out in them. It's about making money in them, right? And so if I hang out in them, I don't mind it, but I need to be in a position of power. If you look at where my entry is in my average, it was towards 450. Here, and I'm not feeling like I'm in a position of power. Easily goes back to VWAP, easily goes down to the support. That's what, 41 cents down, right? So it's just too much risk there for me to hold on, even though hasn't really broken down. It's just more of a matter of I had a ticking time bomb, and inside of me, I was like, I need this to go and go now. So all out there. Kicking it to you, my friend.
Yeah, just looking, we had a comment, WTF halting back down. So could be over for these guys, right? So Newsmax actually bouncing a little bit here. If I had guts, right, I would probably be laddering like we talked about, one share at a time to the short side. But again, it's just not a setup that I have in my playbook. So it's not something I'll play, but just I think a lot of these things will go together. There's just kind of these 3 IPOs that happened all at once and they all went super insane. So when they all break, they could all just break at the same time.
Biotech having a really good day. That Corvo, CRVO.
Oh yeah, that one's moving.
Yeah, that's a move right there. That's what I mean by when you're trying to play these should be moving like this is, right? Easily in three 1 minute candles, moves a buck.
Yeah, it's so yeah, XBI was doing well. XRT is actually doing okay as well. So retail bouncing up here, a little bit of relative strength overall in retail. Just talking about these March lows. So the retail's been holding up and launching a little bit today off the open. What's doing the worst here? We have XES, which is software, I think. No, oil and gas. There. OIH, MOO, which is ag, and then gold. GLD. So yeah, gold had a little bit of a sell right off the open there. That might be an interesting play for those long-term plays we would talk about, right? The intraday swing scalps. The fact that it's reversing here is interesting, just because I don't know, overdone. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but it's been up a lot, right? Gold has had a wicked move, so some profit taking should come in eventually. So how do you guys tell when you should continue to trade or if it's time to stop? That would I think you mean kind of like for the day, and that should be a rule that you come up with in advance, right? You don't want to do that on the moment. It could be, I know there's some people out there who have like a 3-strike rule. They say, okay, I'm going to if I take 3 trades and all 3 trades lose, I'm out. The idea, you know, there's some people who say if you're, as long as your psychology is okay, right, you've checked in with yourself, and you feel good, you continue to take your setups as long as you're following your rules. I know a trader, that's his plan. He said, I review every single trade that I take after I take it. I said, did this follow a setup, a playbook, a system that I have? If yes, then I'm just going to continue to take setups as they occur. The moment he breaks that and he takes something that wasn't in his system, then he says, that's it. right? That's how he cuts them. That's how he decides that he's done for the day, because he's kind of going off plan. If you don't have a system, I'll always say that that's your first problem, and then that's your biggest problem, right? If you don't have a system, then you're just kind of guessing. And
like Steph said, risk to reward. Have a strategy, plan to follow, risk to reward.
So yeah, I've always
like, there's one thing that's for certain, in that a system needs to be had. Whether you're, trading it systematically, like, like just computer making decisions for you and things like that, or you're making decisions off of that system, but the system still needs to be had, like, regardless, right? And that's where I think that we can be on the certainty. You need to have some kind of system that you're going to follow, right? You can have different strategies within that, right? And how you're going to go about it, but also understanding of how you are, right? And that's why the strike 3 kind of exists, right? Because a lot of traders, when they get 3 losing trades in a row, their mind goes where? It goes in the gutter, right?
Yeah.
And that's just what you need to have. What type of trader are you? Are you okay with losing often and then getting a winner and getting it all back? Or are you the type of trader that when you take those consistent loss, you really start to feel bad, like it hurts you? Yeah, it literally hurts your mentality. You feel negative towards the day. Those are the traders that you might feel like that, yeah, I need to get out of here earlier. I can't let myself get into that spiral. So I need to maybe have a 2 trade loss rule, right? Yeah. And then there's some traders that come in, and I have nothing wrong with this, especially for beginner traders. I think Michael would agree with it too. Just one good trade a day. I'm going to take one good trade a day. One systematic trade, one strategy, try to take it, try to nail it. Whether it goes good or bad, it's just how the market plays out. But I'm going to take that one good trade, a good system. I'm going to look back, I'm going to review it, and keep trying to build on my system. Right.
Yeah, and I've often thought that'd be an interesting series or a game to play, Mitch, where we open up one of the small accounts and that's it. You get one trade a day,
baby.
Close the account.
You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. I think that's a good one, Michael. I think it's a really, really good one to do. So we are looking to expand, guys, and take some new approaches. I know Michael and I are looking towards really taking the step to the next level and going for the $200,000 account there on Trade to Pool. And I haven't tried one. Michael hasn't tried one. We're going to get after it, guys. And the reason why is I respected myself too, right? I'm not here trying to blow through money and just waste it. That's not what it's for. I was trying to use some of the earlier packages, trying to balance, learn the way to play the evaluation game, right? Because there's some nuances to this, right? And I think that that's important. But now we're ready to step up to the plate, right? And with that being said, it's not going to be about getting it quick, because I think Michael and I are looking at the long-term game, right? In that 200,000. And what could it bring us? But
the new unlimited option that we have, right? The fact that you can take your time, and you could trade it in the same style as a $20,000 account and just say, hey, I'm going to take 6 months to pass this thing, right? I'm going to try to grind it out. But and these different challenges I think would be interesting, especially for you guys to see, right? Is to have some sort of goal. And I like this comment, and it's right. Even if you're right 80% of the time, you're going to have 3 in a row. That's why I really like the traders that I know that they evaluate after every trade, and they say, hey, if this trade was part of a plan, then I can continue to trade. Second, I take one that's not part of the plan, it's time to go, right? It's time to. It's
a good way. A lot of small caps moving out there today, guys. I'm seeing them move out there. We'll see if they can continue to run. TTEC just continuing to hold on that 9 EMA. Got me on at the 450 pullback there, but it's still hanging in there. I mean, it's just slowly grinding up. Peloton moving up, man. That's when I knew it. I was like, okay, the small caps are moving because it's Peloton's moving. You already know you might need to run for the hills, but we'll see what happens on that one. I know how some people like Peloton there. It's getting the lift there, right? You see a lot of these small caps just continuing to get the lift there. CRVO is another one that I saw that was like huge lift. Was watching that one to see if we make a pullback to the VWAP or something like that. It's just continuing to hold. So some of these small caps not looking too bad. SPWH one that I talked about early on today, about 135 holds. It's doing well. It's just not a big move, right? And so I'm not trying to chase a small move on something that should be a high flyer, right? Because that just to me is just a recipe for disaster. So that's why I got out of TTEC. Not going to be upset about it. It could start to go now, right? And the truth is that it did sideways consolidation at the top, but the drop to VWAP is easily 50 cents there. So you got to determine how you want to go about that. Maybe scalping TTEC makes sense for me right now, but other than that, and you guys know it, I very rarely just do like a quick scalp. It's just not up my alley. We'll see what happens there. VXX finally going into that box that I drew earlier. Remember that VWAP? Well, we're hitting it right now, that anchored VWAP. Well, now I'll be looking for the whoosh down and kind of reversal action here on the SPY. Can we get one more big hit down? If you look here, 1, 2, kind of 3 waves down. I want to see this bounce a little bit here, then go for one more hit. And then I'll be looking for some reversal here, maybe 10-15-ish time. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, the
technology
SPY just ripping. So it kind of hang out. It did kind of wait for that initial move, right? It waited for that that weird event, whatever. I'm not even gonna look it up. Whatever that economics event was, kind of hung out there for a few minutes around that 2-day VWAP. That's right where that consolidation is. As soon as that was done, I don't think it's because of that move. It's more of probably just, hey, that's out of the way. We can start moving now. We started to pop up there. So we have Johnson & Johnson. That's doing well for me. It's probably going to be my only trade today, to be honest. So I'm doing a one and done today by accident, I guess. It's not even on purpose. It's all I could find.
Hey, got to take what you can get. We'll see what happens out there. Can the SPY get towards 562, 561, somewhere in that range is where I'm looking to see the turnaround and get played. Don't think it's going to be easy one way. I think right now you're scaring out some bearish action that came in the pre-market. Remember, the VIX was up big this morning. And so a lot of bears came in there and was like, oh, well, let's go hunting. Well, there you got hunted, right? And I think that's the way I look at it a lot of times in day trading versus swing trading. I don't have these quick flip mentalities in my swing trading mentalities, but I think that it's important in day trading because day trading is just like that, right? This morning, what is talked about, tariff, negativity, VIX jumping higher, scared. The market flips right at the open, right? And so I think that a lot of times it's about understanding that the flip-flop action in day trading is almost a must. It's just the way that things work. It's the supply and demand game, right? And so you have to be able to be flexible in your mentality as a trader. That's why I think day traders lose too often, right? Because the truth is that they're trying to find trends that stick. And the truth is in day trading, there's a lot of flip-floppy action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you take your shot and you move on, right? And that's why
how day trading needs to be. It's not about sticking to it, right? Because then that's when you're like, but the market should go down, Michael. I have all these catalysts, all these variables. The truth is in day trading, especially like in swing trading, I feel like you're more like kind of held to a position. You can be smart. You can kind of use some risk management there. But in day trading, the number one thing we can't do is just stay wrong. Right. You can be wrong. Don't stay wrong.
Well, and that was something that, you guys saw kind of my journey getting into this. That was a big thing for me is because I'm someone who's a swing trader. My goal is to make as much money in my swings when I'm right as physically possible. So, I don't generally ever use profit targets when I'm trading. So that was something that got me into a lot of trouble when it came to, trying to pass these accounts is that, I kind of thought the same thing. I said, okay, I'll take this trade and I'll just let it run all day. And that might be fine for some setups, but when it comes to trading, especially day trading, you just get a lot of that intraday noise and you want to play that. You don't want to get played by it. So that's why you guys kind of saw the transition of, well, now I'm going to, for these AVWAP strategies that I started to play with to pass this account was just say, okay, well, I'm just going to have a profit target. It's going to be the 2-day VWAP if we're getting there and it looks like we're reversing from it, I'll take it a little bit early. But just that switch, that just kind of pushes it as well, right?
By slowing down a little bit. What's up? What you got
Quick
for
question
me?
on resumption prices of halts. I don't know if TC2000 has that or not, but I know Trade Ideas does, who's a partner. They have a scanner and they'll show you when things enter halts and when they resume out of them. There may be a couple
I think he's
places
saying though.
like
I think he's saying like price before it comes out of it, like where the resumption price. I don't think there's a way of doing that. I don't think
the
there's
only thing
anything
that I
that's
know
gonna
of is
do
people
that.
that look at the level 2, and if you have like absolute depth of order book, you can actually just kind of peer through the level 2 and get an estimate of what it is, because it's an auction service, right? So
exactly.
when they halt, there's people stacking up bids and offers, and then it will resolve somewhere between those. So I think that's the best way to do it. But yeah, there's a lot of scanners that will tell you, the moment it resolves, what the resolution price was.
Yeah, and that's going to help you too, right? I think that trying to get an edge though on that is very hard, right? It's a guesstimate at best, right? And so if we're trying to gain edge on that chain, I think it will be very difficult, right? It's not something that I think can be easily jumped onto, right? And I think that another thing to think about is the manipulation that comes out of halts also, because one of the things that's understood by the bigger traders is when that halt resumption comes on, there's a lot of orders in the order books, right? And so the algos are using those orders in the order book to understand kind of like, all right, well, we're coming down to a certain level, we can grab that and get right back up, right? So I think it's one of the most difficult things to do is trade out of a halt, right? Like if you got in before and it runs into a halt, you guys saw me, that happened to me yesterday. But getting out of a halt is like taking a speedboat ride immediately in the trade, and it's difficult, right? I've been in 2 halts down today on shorts, and would be good to have an idea of where the price is coming out of in the halt. The truth is, you can guesstimate, you can use the order book. That's your best shot. You want to get the full order book. You can get this from the NASDAQ. You can get it from the ARCA book. You can do New York Stock Exchange. You're going to have to pay for this data. It's usually pretty expensive. Depends if you're a professional or not. If you're a professional, it's really expensive. But we'll see what happens there. Shane, I didn't trade into the halt. I was short a few minutes before the halt. Yeah, I think those are the trades where what I like to do is just set a break even right before the halt gets hit, right? Because you can't put that order in after the halt happens. So if I see a stock about to go into a halt and I am far away from the action, I want to put a break even as a protection. So when the stock comes out of the halt, yes, it could come back against me. But if I get out break even and it just resumes, I look at that as a actual like patting on my back because I protected myself in a moment of risk, right? But it's something that I can tell you that a lot of the traders out there, they're hoping their stocks go into halts if you're playing these smaller names, because that is increased volatility that thus should help you get bigger price movement, right? So it's part of the game of playing these small ones, man. You're going to get through halts. Now, the one thing I do for certain is if I see a stock go into a third halt, even if it's on the upside or downside, I am getting out, because I've seen in my trading that if a stock goes halt once, halt twice, usually that third halt, out of that third halt, at least from what I see, and I got to do a statistical on this, and there's stats on this, but a lot of times it's a down halt after that, and I'm trying to avoid that action, right? So it's tough. It's tough.
That's a very true statement as well, right? Day trading requires the mindset and the discipline of a monk. That's why myself, someone who doesn't have that, that's why I systematize everything, right? That's why as soon as there's ability to auto trade things, I want to do the whole process that you guys saw here. I can't wait till we can really systematize these trades, which I know is on its way, and it's something that I think we're going to be testing internally pretty good, which will be exciting. I had a little chat with the CEO earlier about it, and yeah, very, very exciting. So because that, to me, should always be the process. If you end up getting a setup that works for you, your thought should then go, okay, well, how can I have something else pull the trigger? Because then I don't have to have the discipline of a robot, right? I can allow a system to kind of take care of that for me, right?
TTEC made the move there to 490s, hanging out there. RCAT not looking too bad right now. Looking around to see what other trades are setting up here. One trade that I see set up there is the VXX trade. I wanted to come down one more time and break through the low here. Quick move down towards the 51, and then recovery is what I'm looking for, and looking to see if the SPY starts pulling back here. I would like to see it make one more attempt there, but we're definitely starting to slow down a little bit and starting to go sideways. Essentially, from 945, we're right back to that 945.
Yes,
If it's
so
a
we did
grind
get
up
that.
today.
Yeah, nice looking push in the SPY, but yeah, everything's been slow. So here's actually silver that I've got an eye on. I've been watching this, but when I look at the SPY, especially today, right? Yeah, you had that opening drive, and if that worked for you, great. It stumbled around 2-day VWAP for a while, but broke through and kind of came crashing back down. So it's been one of those where, just like we talked about, there's no economic numbers that really matter too much today. There's nothing really from an earnings front or really major news events. So everybody's waiting, right? This is one of those days where, there was a comic book shop I remember by the prop firm that I used to work at back in university. And these would be the days I'd try to get a scalp right off the open, like I got with J&J, and gone, right? Go pick up a comic and sit there and read it all day, because I wanted to stay at the office, but I just wanted to keep my hands busy. So like today, once I'm done here, I am closing the charts. I've got some strategies I want to build. I think I found a place where I can get intraday data to start running some back tests on these strategies. I've got some plans to systematize this in my own brokerage account, as well as when Trade the Pool has happened. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff to work on that is not looking at the charts, because I think as the day goes on, it's going to get more and more like this. And then come, I don't know when he starts talking, if it's 3 o'clock Eastern, thought I heard.
It's 4.
Oh, so right after the market closes. Yeah. So it's just going to grind its way probably into the close, and then really, really get going after that. I think Newsmax halted to the downside.
Yeah, I can see that. Halted on the downside. It's been about 2 minutes. Gush looking good here for the recovery back to the upside. Looks good on the daily too. This, to me, this is where I usually would done swings, right? Like, look at this nice 4 bottomings on Gush, right? So 4 bottoms tells me what? People had a chance to get in there, right? And it could be setting up on the daily support, looking for it to break the resistance, right? And that's a move to 2780s. Could be making a run to maybe this high, 2845. So I think you have a chance here for this to actually hold here. A lot of bottomings are in the same area, reversing back towards 27. VWAP around 2677s doesn't look bad at all on this Gush. I would love to get an opportunity back at 2680s, but looks good here. We'll see what happens on some oil names. Start seeing them look to recover VWAPs. XOM recovering VWAPs. We'll see what happens on these types of plays. Not a bad area to watch here, as I'm looking to see if oil can go higher.
The only warning that I would give in the oil space is that it's Wednesday. So we have the crude oil inventories, the domestic inventories.
10:30, right?
10:30. So in
Yeah,
13
but
minutes. So you take
and
the
what do you
bet
see
going into that,
WTI
huh? Right? You
WTI
get,
taking a jump, right? WTI taking a
yep.
jump already. This is what I talked about, right? Like I'd look for the spot price to get up over the 71. If it gets over the 77, it could be a big move. What have I been seeing big traders talk about? Oil trades right now. Why? Because the uncertainty in the other trades, right? So they're focused on making money. That's what they have to do. So they're looking at, I think, a more certain trade here in oil potentially to the upside. This is one that I'll be watching. I think by the 10:30, of course, it could be, gone from here, right? So it's a tough trade for sure. But gosh, looking good. Look to
Well,
see if
at
that
the
could be a
very least,
pullback.
right, with binary events like that, and it's one of those things that the crude oil inventories 9 times out of 10 will be a nothing burger. Every now and then it can push oil around a little bit, but yeah, the benefit of it is a stop will work, right? The problem with uh, these binary events when it comes to earnings and things like that is that the market's closed and a stop won't work. So yeah, it definitely makes sense but you just got to know that that event is gonna move oil in some direction and to some degree. Probably won't be a lot, but it's one of those things where just FYI, it's coming up and you can do what you like. Again, I because it's happening during the slower part of the day, I actually always used to. This was something that you could do before the computers took over the market, which is funny that I'm going to be someone who fully trades with a computer entering the orders as someone was kind of wailing against it when I was my younger self. But yeah, we used to wait for these events to occur, and you get a squawk that would read out, and you would actually play them. You'd have your expected number weighted. You knew exactly what everyone in the world was expecting for the crude oil inventories. If it came up over that, you take a short. If it came up under that, you take a long. You could just take your play just like that, right? And I always liked UCO. So I know you're looking at Gush, but I like UCO because Gush is a bunch
leverage.
of, well, UCO is leverage as well. So Gush is leveraged a bunch of people that pull oil out of the ground, right? And UCO is the actual oil itself that gets pulled out of the ground. So if I'm betting on the commodity itself and the commodity price, that's just how I like to look at it, because that's going to track with the commodity price. Where if something like Gush, if there's one company that reports earnings that day that's part of the oil explorers and that's bad, then it can mess up those prices just a little bit.
And of course, oil not wanting to pull back there.
No.
We started to bring it up there before the move on 27. It's 27.18 now, starting to rise there. We'll look to see if it breaks 27.50s and just starts to move. That could be a good sign to maybe look for XOM and Chevron and names like that. We'll see what happens on some of these bigger names today. Looking around out there, let's go towards the different sectors. XLF still holding in there. XLI still holding in. Let's see XLV. Yeah, nice little bounce off that 142 breakdown look. So we'll see what happens here. VXX still hasn't made that second attempt down into that spot there. I'm looking for that move here. And then they're going to look to see if the SPY can come right back down. Remember, I was talking about like 561, 562 level. Reason why I'm looking at that level, I'm just looking at the 15-minute chart, like the way kind of I played it yesterday, coming down towards the support and then just trying to see it bounce off of that. At this point, I could see kind of a trend line approach coming somewhere up into this area, 561, 840s, and then starts to work back to the middle of the chart. Doesn't need to go back to 555, but I could see it working back towards the VWAP, 557, somewhere in that area. We'll see if we get that kind of play here. Interesting to see the market taking this up move, of course. One thing that I've mentioned, I think that was important, and we've talked about the quote, right? As we get closer and closer to events on buy the rumor or sell the rumor events, right? The uncertainty goes closer and closer towards certainty. So the edge in that play is slowly deteriorating. That's what I think we're seeing right now in that trade. We'll find out.
Yeah, and it's I wish it was down, like I mentioned
Yeah,
earlier. I
yeah,
just
yeah.
think
I'm
that
sure. I'm sure. Yeah.
if the market was down going into this, just more of a chance that it would rally up. But we are moving up into it, so it kind of is what it is, right? So we'll take what we get. Just watching this Newsmax, it halted there for a second, and then just kind of immediately broke down. So, that would have been the move, right? Taking that trade if that broke. So the question is, this is again just for entertainment, watching this thing. If it breaks 100, do we hit 80? Right? It's gotta remember this thing IPO'd at $14 a share. And when you IPO, the reason that there's generally not much edge in buying these IPOs is because it gets priced at a place that you've had, Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and all these biggest guys out there saying this is about what the value of the company is. And that's why you'll see sometimes a lot of back and forth around the IPO price. This was one of those, just went crazy because the float was very low. And then, things happened after that. So interesting look if it broke. I just want to watch this thing just in case, we see that happen again, right? This is one of the reasons we observe. Now, what's funny to me, you see I just drew it in here. I have it on a shorter term chart, but the anchored VWAP from the moment Newsmax went live, we're right back down there now. So it'll be interesting to see if this ends up acting as support in this area right here. And then we just start to actually bounce from here. But I don't know who's gonna come in. I shouldn't say that because there's definitely gonna be someone, but who's gonna come in and buy this thing, knowing just how kind of junky it is.
To me, this reminds me a lot of the Beyond Meat.
Oh yeah, Beyond garbage. You ever try that? You ever have it?
Man. I don't do fake meat, fake profits, man.
I tried it. I was like, you know what? Screw it. Because it was the rage. Bring up the chart for people. There's probably a lot of people who haven't traded since then.
Oh, man. I still remember.
A huge deal, right? So the IPO was here. Yeah.
200 break is when I started to being like, yeah, I want to short this thing. Oh, man.
Yeah, they were announcing deals with McDonald's and like Wendy's and all of these things.
I still remember. I was just like, dude, like, yeah, this is going to grow, but is it going to be where it's at? And I remember there was another one that was out. It doesn't exist anymore, but Tattooed Chef was the other one, and it just went poof, disappeared.
Well, this one looks like it's pretty close to that, right? If we look at the thing, but it's just, again, it shows you that you never know how far they'll go. They can go absolutely insane and then come all the way back down to zero, pretty much. Right? Yeah. This thing's now hemorrhaging money.
And the thing was, the current environment didn't make sense. Always, it's about, for me, the current environment. In that current environment, it was 2021. Inflation was rampant in the market. And the only thing that we were concerned about was prices at the grocery stores just continuing to increase. I was like, well, if I'm a family, right, and I'm seeing prices increase here, and even if I want the healthy choice, do I continue to go to Beyond Meat that the prices keep stacking up higher and higher? No, you go for cheaper alternatives during this time. During rough times, you start to see ground meats get picked up, right? And there's a reason why. It's cheaper, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, that's why I was betting against Beyond Meat. So the key I always think about talking about these, like, let's say these experiences or past experiences, our financial journey, is to learn from them, because you can make big bets that can really change your life. A short on Beyond Meat then would really be life-changing, right? We're talking life-changing cash, right? So we'll see what happens, guys. I think it's important sometimes to also take long-term bets sometimes, even if it's a small one, right? Even if it's something that you feel you can do, because the more that you take these, the better you'll get at them, right? Also, just like trades, right? You need to be able to take them on a long term, and Beyond Meat, definitely one of those where if you look at the 200 moving average, right? The EMA, it only broke once all the way in it broke once in 2024 in February. That's when you would have got out if you shorted it back at the 200 break of like 138. So you're writing that down for 118 points, right? Things like that could really gain you a move, right?
Yeah.
So
well, and we talked about it before, right? Eventually, and I think it's going to be faster than I think most people think it is. The there's not going to be such a thing as day trading and swing trading. We're talking 24-hour markets. They're starting to pop up everywhere. We now have the fourth 24-hour market that's got approved
they just
by
want to
the
let
SEC.
the computers in. They want to let Michael run the show.
Good, right?
I know you're looking for it. You got to lean into the advances, guys. Even though I'm struggling with it, you got to lean in.
Yeah, well, and I think part of this is because it's slow market, so we can go through some history, but I was there. I keep talking about how I traded prop back in university. I traded prop for a living. I paid for my entire university day trading and trading prop, and it was sitting on the desk on a floor of an exchange, or not an exchange, but on a prop floor. 20 dudes in a room, all pounding away on keys. That's what we did. And then the whole firm got shut down because the market got computerized and they didn't adapt. So that was my biggest slap in the head of, we had these games that we played around level 2s before people were smart enough to hide their orders on level 2s, right? That's why I don't use level 2 anymore, because that game I played it, right? And it was great. We would bully the market maker because the market maker was slow because he was a human and we had access to advanced order routing. So basically sometimes there'd be arbitrage. You could buy it from Arca, which was a direct market exchange, and sell it to the market maker a couple cents higher, right? So we played all these games, but then when the market updated and we didn't, again, the whole firm shut down. So, that kind of opened my eyes to it. And then, like I mentioned a couple times in the past, I spent 10 years working in the hedge fund space. I talked to tons of different hedge fund managers and figured out their trading styles and what they did. Hundreds of different hedge fund managers, and found that the ones that stuck around for the long period of time were ones that had systematic trading and had quants and everything. It was the ones, the thematic guys would come and then they would go, right? They would, distressed debt was one in 2008. We had a fund that went from $10 million to $5 billion in 1 year. Through not just making money, but people putting in money, but became a huge fund. And they did distressed debt, right? They bought Lehman Brothers bonds and shorted Lehman Brothers stock. And it was a game that you could play during that period of time that you could make a buttload of money doing. But then after the great financial collapse, when all the distressed debt died up and no one was distressed anymore, the fund underperformed for a couple of years and went to zero. But yeah, the guys who had these systematics. So again, it always just showed me as I kind of went through this journey of trading and finance, the people who adapted did fine. The people who didn't, they got left behind. So that's why I'm all about coming up with a strategy, deploying that strategy in a simple kind of a way, and then getting a robot to do it, and then coming up with another strategy, and then getting a robot to do it, and then coming up, right? That's the whole process I do now. So I know Dave, that was on the show, who's the co-host of my podcast about systematic trading and has been a systematic day trader for years. He's running 30 different day trading strategies right now. And he's always looking for more. There's never a time that he's done. It's just always, right? Instead of trying to be the master of one, right? You end up trying to do a little bit of everything, because you know that if you master a style or a setup, that it's only a matter of time till it's gone, right? If you're someone who trades gaps right now and there is a 24-hour market that comes in, well, guess what? There's no such thing as a gap anymore, right? Gaps are gone. So then what do? Right? So you might as well just always be thinking of what's coming next, because at some point, whatever it is that you do, the market's going to take from you. And the nature of the game.
Yeah. I agree. SPY making that new push there. 561s coming into play here. Here we go for that look that I was looking for. So I'm getting ready to trade the reversal here, but it's all the way you want to trade it, right? If you want to trade the breakout here on the SPY, then trade the breakout, guys. I'm looking for
close
the
to that high.
reversal.
There's
That's
a
what
lot
I'm
of
looking at.
resistance up
That's
there.
what I'm looking at, Michael. It just
Yeah.
as we get closer and closer to that, I start thinking more and more. At least VWAP reversal, like mean reversion back down to
Yep.
the VWAP, makes sense. It doesn't need to come down to 555, right? Like I don't think that's necessarily the idea. I don't think it's going to be a not choppy day, just a straight trend trade higher day, and that's why I feel more and more inclined to play the reverse.
That's another thing that is that's interesting to me. That's something I want to explore is people using these the VWAP and then the bands, the standard deviation bands around VWAP.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's something that might be an interesting little game to play later in the day.
Makes
Don't
sense.
see any examples here if it works, but again, things that you can test. That's the beauty of it.
Oh.
We live in a world where you don't have to guess everything. You can go out there and you can find the data for, and you can get ChatGPT to write you up a script and test it. Right, so that's what I spend 99% of my time doing.
All right, guys. Started to see the break of the low there, which is what I was looking for on the VXX. It's a break of the 51.38. We just broke it to 51.37. Immediately recovered to 51.65. SPY starting to slow down, coming right into kind of more of that trend line approach that I'm looking for. Looking for one more hit here. If not, it could come already starting to break there. So just got to determine if I'm going to go at it right now or give it one more chance here. Tesla looking really topsy-toppy. Part of me wanting to go short Tesla here. Just from the chart, if I take a quick look, 263 stands out really well on Tesla as a resistance.
Yeah. Yeah, this Tesla had that bad news off the open and then just kind of rallied through it. Looking back, that would have been a perfect trade for the AVWAP fade. So I should have looked at that bad news and said, hey, maybe I should look to get involved here. So, and then again, so I'm going to take a note in my journal. Let's take that Johnson Johnson trade. That's going to end up being a good one. And then say, hey, what do you miss? Because I think you have to, pay attention to that. It's not just what you got, but also what you missed.
All right, guys, long on the VXX here, trying to see if we can get this to start coming back up here. Wouldn't want it to break the 51.52, so it's about 20 cents of risk here. Risking about $40 to see if I can get this to start lifting here. We'll see if it starts to make the move here. Big part is I kind of don't even want to see the pullback. I want to see if it just goes away from the 9 EMA on the SPY and we don't come back to the high, which is 561.57s. And looking to see if we come back here towards at least 559.56 here on the first action.
Yeah, it's a nice looking hammering candle there on the 5. So if it holds, that could be a great move there.
All right, traders. Like always, it's going to be all about after hours, I think, today, and just trying to make some change, right?
Well, that's what we talked about that coming in today, right? That we were both, and I think that's important, right? The time that we spend, if you're someone who starts tuning in as the market opens, I think you should definitely make sure you're tuned in before that, because that time is important where we go, because this is what we expected today. We expected a slower day. Now, to impatient people, maybe that means you don't trade at all, right? If it's a slow day, right? To more patient people, maybe it's totally fine to trade on days like this. You just need to kind of set your brain and say, I'm not expecting a lot of things to trigger. I'm not expecting to take a lot of trades. So I'm going to kind of chill out and watch. I'm listening to some smooth jazz in my ears right now to keep myself kind of calm down and just see what happens.
Gotta be. And when you start seeing, Michael do a little head nod, you already know. What's up, Eldon? Eldon in the house.
Resistance at 308. 318, yeah. So I see the resistance you're looking at up there.
I love the way you put them up there, Eldon. That's why you see Michael jump all over these, because you do it the right way, my friend.
I just it's always this is how you trade, right? You look at this stuff because this is the idea, this is the entry price, this is the target price, this is everything is this is I would say step one to becoming a systematic trader, right? You've got everything laid out. You could really just, if you like it, you could hit the button and he could get up from his chair and live his life, right? Go, work at a job, go do something like that. But no, I like it now. AMD relatively weak to the other semis out there, so that's a good one. I would just be, for myself, again, as someone who is primarily a swing trader, I'm not entering anything today. I'm waiting till tomorrow. I'm not going deep on anything just because, if I'm long everything, I've got a bunch of longs on right now, and he says something great and the market rips, great. But, I worry about the other way around too. So again, it's up to you. You got your trade, you got your stop loss, you got all that kind of stuff sorted. So good for you. I'm just incredibly nervous about being too heavy in one side or the other, just knowing that there's this big binary event that I think worst case scenario is he doesn't come up with a clear plan for anyone and, just comes up there and just babbles about absolutely nothing for a period of time and then leaves. And I think the market tanks because everyone is just saying, okay, finally, we're going to get some certainty on what's going on. And if they don't get that, I think that's worst case scenario.
Yeah,
if we don't
that's what the market's looking for, guys.
So
here's a quick attempt here for the SPY to come back here. We'll see if it does come back there.
Yeah, it's got a little topping tail on the 5. It's getting into that post-market range. So an interesting little shot to take there. Newsmax halted again? No. Is it? This thing's just crazy. NMAX. No, it's just not halted. It's just calmed down. Look at this thing. It only has a 10-point range on this 5-minute candle. What a calm stock. It's only 10% moves every 5 minutes. It's boring now. It's basically like GE. Oh, Mitch, we got a visitor. No, you're going to trade there, so you probably missed.
Yeah. I'm over here, eyes focused, but I'll get him on in just 2 seconds here. Let me just lay a stop down. All right, there you go. It should be holding on there. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on the man himself. What's going on, Tim?
Hey, guys. I am excited today. Wow, big day. So I'm just catch up this morning, just trying to get a grasp on what's responding, which ways and stuff. But I think the most interesting thing is just seeing which these countries are pulling back on their own tariffs. Just I guess in a reciprocal fashion. And I want to check in on some of the currency markets. I have no idea how that'll affect these different international stocks, but I'm excited. I am looking at Roblox as well, because they had the second
out on the VXX there, guys.
Roblox again.
Yeah, they rolled out some tools for parents to be able to see their kids' activity and control it.
That whole software should be shut down. But
yeah, I've just heard horror stories.
Yeah, let's just say my kids are never going on there.
Yeah, creeps all over that place.
So it is interesting.
I don't even know how it's still allowed to be out
on Monday nights, and there's a little kid that comes in there. So it's in a grocery store. It's not as crazy as it sounds. But no, he's a big Roblox fan and whatever. So I check in with him once in a while and ask how that's going. And he told me they had limited the number of friends you're allowed to have. So I think there is, apparently it was like 300 and now it's 30. So, they're doing some things, I guess, to try to, clamp down on people having these giant piles of kids. I know YouTube also, like if your video gets tagged as for kids, like not even if you mark it, then you can't have it in a playlist. There's some kind of interesting restrictions that people have.
Yeah, there's some restrictions on there.
That's
But
why you
yeah,
gotta
I still
swear
get blown away.
every now and then. Well, we should do that on the channel, right? Every now and then you let out a big curse word, so you make sure you don't get classified as for kids, right? Just let out a couple
You,
random
you get
swears.
shadow banned for that one, Michael. But the YouTube algorithm will pick that word up real quick.
Oh man.
Oh, I love
Didn't
my
expect
Jerry
that
Springer
word from you,
button.
Mitch.
I love my Jerry Springer button. You know, you remember the good old days?
Oh yeah, you couldn't even hear what was going on in the show. It was just
Yeah, no,
that.
it was just it's just you knew things were going down when you started seeing the bodyguards come out and or the Maury show.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay.
finally over now too. He gave up on that after like 100
Don't worry,
years.
Tim, you're not the father.
No. I'm just trying to figure
Are we
out
gonna
actually
get a
what's
double top? Are we gonna get it, guys? I might take one more shot here. It's gonna be my strike 2, but I think I'm only gonna do a strike 2 move today versus a strike 3. I don't want to do strike 3 today, guys. We talked about this, right? So I'm looking to see if the spies topped out here. Double top area. Didn't get back to that wick. I'll take my shot here.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
It feels like we're a little extended and dropping. So Roblox, yeah, I got beat up on that one yesterday. I did grab a call option a few minutes ago, just in case it can make a push here. But this looks like it could be like a fake double top kind of thing. We'll see. Robinhood also, for whatever reason, that one seems to be kind of dribbling that back down. They had that banking news, right? They're going to roll out banking.
Yeah, you get
Robinhood banking.
bags
Yeah,
of
I
money
saw that.
delivered right to your door. What
You know,
could go wrong there?
Somebody was claiming Brazil is big into crypto, very big there. So you can pay crypto and someone will bring cash to your door. Like it was the specific claim. I was like, all right.
Yeah, there's a lot of crypto action coming out of Brazil and
But I
South
am
America
looking at-
overall.
Yeah, El Salvador, of course, they got their volcano crypto city.
Yeah, and if you, I mean, pretty much in a lot of countries in South America, cryptocurrency being used more than the actual currency.
So, but yeah, I'm looking at I'm guessing this has to. Well, maybe not. This is interesting. So, I'm seeing Target, Walmart, Dollar Tree. Those kind of been on my watch list. Big pushes up. Target just trying to reclaim, but Walmart extended, Dollar Tree a little bit above its pop. But I'm seeing the other one I'm seeing kind of in my everyday watch list is good old Rumble. So shout out to our
Good old
Rumble
Rumble.
And Carvana though is the other one. So that's kind of interesting. And I'm wondering if this is tied into it all, if it's just a general market move. It's just a little bit of a little bit of it beaten down. Everyone's hoping it'll push up. But I am wearing my bear t-shirt again today just to remind myself.
Carvana, man. I think it could be one of the best moves of the year. I honestly think at the end of the day, used cars are going to become a big thing, man. Big thing. I've been saying it since December. I ain't going to change tune. You can't buy a new car if you're in the middle class. And if you do, you're going to put yourself in a world of danger. So I just feel like it's just bound. It's bound to see the downfall. I think this is where, in the long run, we might see like GM and Ford. I could see a future where GM and Ford kind of go together.
Wow.
I could see a future where there's some consolidation in this space.
That's
at
a bold call.
Yeah.
100 years
go together, as merging.
Yeah, as merging together, becoming one company.
I mean, if we have the FTC
all out there,
maybe,
the VIX there.
you know.
I'm done for the day, guys. Down 92. Good thing is I was up 400 yesterday, so I gave myself like $100 cushion to play with today. I used that cushion, right? So I'm not going to go into the red there of above, like kind of a recovery day yesterday. So I'm done for the day. I could still kind of play that VIX kind of bounce back move, but it just seems to me like there's just not much today to kind of play out here. There is one small stock that just ripped that maybe I should have been playing and looking at. I just didn't expect it to make that type of a move. Look at VMR. This thing is absolutely now just going on one of those parabolic moves. So VMR now 8.55. When I saw this, it was at $5.
VMR.
Yeah, VMR. It's
Victor
Vision
Mike
Marine
Romeo?
Technology.
OTC thing, yeah.
I don't have a VMR. I have a VMRI.
VMAR. Sorry.
VMAR. There we go. It's like,
Yeah, Vision Marine Technologies.
like,
It's
do you have
ripping
a-
there, man.
do you have a stock that I don't know about? Like, do you have one? Ooh, it's one of them. One of those guys.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those.
Powertrain. I've been seeing a lot of like powertrain systems, power transmission companies, all that kind of stuff. Like a lot of
It's,
Look at
internet.
that thing. That thing opened up and went, I think, in a downhole in less than a millisecond. I think that was less than a millisecond.
Just imagine if it gets back to $20,000 a share, which it was before, and certainly didn't have to reverse
Split adjusted,
100
I'm
times.
assuming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just always
Just
like
one
to
of those
zoom out
names.
because you see one of those, you instantly know, okay, this is an awful company. Now, do I want to trade it? That's one thing, but right, if you have to reverse split that many times to stay listed on the NASDAQ, your chart looks like something like that, then yeah, trade them. Don't marry them.
The
The
boat
200-day
maker,
moving
man.
average is at $300. So maybe what if it gets back to the 200-day at 300?
Now, I did do a little buy of the Roblox here just to see if it, obviously it could be a genuine sort of orthodox double top. It could undercut the first one, but it looked like it was trying to grab there. We could have that going into the last 10 minutes here.
Yeah,
Which I was hoping to get on, but I nearly forgot my energy drink. So
nearly, but did not.
yeah. Well, I was so excited this morning, and just I was up so early, and then the market was about to open. I'm like, oh man. So luckily I didn't enter anything. I haven't quite kept myself from jumping in with both feet when I got in here, but we'll see. The other thing that you pulled up that was interesting, it was some Vietnam something or other, but yeah, they're interesting. Like they're a bigger trading partner than I think people necessarily have come to mind, right? And they either completely or mostly dropped their tariffs. That was one of the ones yesterday. So I don't know. I need to look into the Dong.
Yeah, so of course, what's been said on the tariffs is a lot of, we're going to put them in extreme and we're going to let the other countries determine if they want this number to go down. That's what's being said out there, right? So we'll see how that works out, right? Which countries are going to bend and break, right? Essentially to our push. That's what Trump's going to play. He's going to go to the complete opposite side in the extreme game and try to work backwards, not forward, right? That's how you do it a lot of times in a business transaction, a business deal, right? You sit down on the table, and if you want the deal to be at $10, you're going to say, well, you're going to give me $12 first, right? And then we're going to work backwards to 10. We're not going to work at 10.50 or like at 9.50 and expect to get to 10, right? So,
well, you know how all this ends
game.
at the end of the day, right? Is that all these tariffs will go away if the market bleeds enough, and then they'll just say, we got what we wanted, we claim victory, and then we'll move on and we'll forget about it in 6 months.
Well, just in general, right? The theory is that, well, not even theory. I mean, they said explicitly that they're front loading the pain. Their claim is that this is, unavoidable pain. This is a hangover from previous administrations. But either way, the idea is get it over with, and then then the remainder of the administration can be, then
because you guys have elections every 2 years, right? So,
well, yeah, well,
alternating,
there's
like little ones, yeah.
the smaller
midterms.
ones. Midterms.
So what will probably happen, right, is he said he wanted to do all these tariffs, so he will. And then as the next election starts to get closer and closer, and they go, we're not really popular right now because tariffs are taxes, right? Tariffs are inflationary. There's no way around that.
I saw a billboard from the government of Canada with that tagline. Are you get some sponsorship there?
I wish, but no,
I
it's just
made
that
for
they
it, brother.
Canada.
there's just no way you can tariff a good and have that business not pass it down to customers. It's just not how businesses
Yeah.
work, right? If I'm building a house and I'm getting, my lumber is costing 25% more, they're going to charge me more to build the house, right? They're not going to go, oh,
Yeah.
the kindness of our heart, we'll just eat that cost for you as a good company, right? So
Yeah, I mean, just
you know,
look at the change that's happened in the home builder itself, right? I mean, Toll
yeah, you
Brothers
can see that.
is a telling story, right? Telling story is Toll Brothers chart. ITB also. I know you're a big ETF guy like me.
Yep.
The ITB is one of the ones I use often, and look at the change, right?
That's an ugly potential, like rounded top breakdown, because yeah, people are going to build less houses. The lumber comes from Canada. If it costs 25% more, it means your house is going to cost 25% more, and some percentage of people, probably not 25%, but some percentage of people are going to hold off building because it's just too expensive right now. So it's going to increase prices of homes, and just the way she works, right? The question, for the government is just whether or not that's worth it. Right?
Costco ripping today, guys, up 2%.
Yeah, Randy said it right.
Walmart.
Tariffs essentially a sales tax.
Yeah.
Right? Just right. You don't see it, but what they do is they just raise the rate. If McDonald's is going to have to spend more on its beef, they're going to charge more for their hamburgers, right? It's not rocket surgery, right?
No, it isn't.
We saw it
the
during
other
the inflation
thing-
time, right? McDonald's cranked up their prices, and then they hit a point where people started to stop buying hamburgers, and they just ratchet them down a little bit. It's the corporation's job, charge as much as they can without breaking the amount of people that will buy.
Now, I tried ordering this before, but I got it wrong. A little case for my Bluetooth adapter for the DAC that I have, but from AliExpress, and the process is still normal. I was looking online a little bit, and people were saying
I'm gonna
that
try one more, guys. I might get my hand chopped off today, but
Yeah.
I'll try one more on it.
But I ended up going down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I found out that when they did some of the cuts before, they don't really have, like, the post office got overwhelmed with the idea of cutting the de minimis exception. And then on top of it, there was a proposal, I guess, for the post office to collect the tariffs like via online, an online checkout thing or something. Not cheap. It would have been like a $6 transaction fee per package plus everything else. But apparently that department has been cut. So, the question is whether realistically they can even, the execution of some of these tariffs is going to be interesting too. So.
Well, that's what the argument that I heard from the States is, just, if we're going to do it, you just do a broad tariff, right? You just say, okay, we're tariffing everything at this rate, right? If it comes into America, this is the tariff that it would cause.
Yeah.
And part of the reason for that was just kind of like what you said, is that if you're doing specific tariffs on specific items at specific times and blah, blah, it becomes a bureaucratic nightmare. If you just said, okay, if it lands in America, we're taking 10%, then it's like, okay, good. Right?
You know what?
I
forget what kingdom it was or whatever, but they basically had this was in, I don't know, 1500s or something, but they just said, like, you would self-declare the value. And they wouldn't do that too many inspections, but the rule was you had to let the king buy it off you at whatever price you said it was. And, they could do spot checks or just randomly decide they were going to buy out this or that shipment. So it's like the whole thing, you cut the, we'll say pizza, one person cuts it, the other person chooses. So.
One thing, of course, oil starting to make a move up. I just saw a big volume print in kind of 39,000 shares in Chevron as the volume was really low, just picked up. So looking to see what happens here. Chevron has a lot of bottoming on the 15 on 167.
Yeah, so a little bit of a pullback there on oil futures. As it dropped just a bit. Same kind of look of the market, right? A little bit more choppy, but just a grind.
Kind of mirroring that
day.
move at 1040 and then 1055. Like, really looks kind of symmetrical within the channel, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just riding this, and that's kind of what the spy's been doing, right? Just riding this channel up, just nothing crazy in either direction, grinding towards yesterday's high. If we get there, that'll be interesting, but I just don't think right now it's a really weird candle, right? It's like closed. It opened right up, bought from the high, and then closed. I actually have a systematic strategy that will trigger on the close for that particular setup of stocks that just like the high of the day is also the opening print, or the low of the day is also the opening print, where it's a way to detect buy programs. Right? It's if they want it bad, they'll just trade it right at that price. They'll just buy it up the second the market opens, right?
We'll see if we got a little bit of a reversal action, right? I mean, I talked about this pattern yesterday before the market opened. Where we're seeing a little bit of a piercing bottom, right, in the SPY. We're back up to 570, 576 tomorrow. It's going to be looking like a nice little bottoming candle, right? And that's the way that trading goes, guys. There's both bets there, but keep your eyes to see what happens, right? 50% retrace.
We keep watching this VWAP, right? For me, that's, again, I have a strategy for swing trading that's breaking the VWAP from these all-time highs, and you can see that's the one that held us when we were there before, held us right here. So if we can get above that, that's the moment to me. So that's like 575. That's where the average market participant, if you started to buy the market at the worst possible time, that's where you exist. And right, if you're right, if you're above that, then we're probably happy. And if we're below that, we're probably sad again. But yeah, that's the major idea, that price right there.
That is a decent sized move there, although that if that schedule the White House put out is if the ambition in that is true enough. Like, the interesting thing is people are saying, oh, it's right after the market closed, but index options trade till 4:15, futures trade till 5, and of course they reopen at 6. On Trade the Pool, as long as you use limit orders, of course, you can trade till 8 p.m. So it's not as if we won't be able to see some reaction right away, but it's kind of funny. It says like the last entry on there is like, sit back and watch as like America's new strength envelops the world or something. So
Liberation Day, as we get that, of course, at 4 p.m. All eyes will be open.
I keep forgetting the name of our new holiday. It's so ridiculous. It just keeps escaping my mind.
Yeah, man. We'll see what happens with that, guys. Like always, stay safe out there, guys. It's 11 a.m. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. It was a red day for me, but really good bounce back day yesterday. So didn't want to push it down 116. But strike 3, you're out, right? The rule, baby. We're out of here. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Michael with the nice one good trade. We talked about how that could be something that you guys think about. And traders, like always, think about some of the small things that we talk about sometimes, right? Little notes, right? And think about it afterwards, expand on it. And if there's anything that you catch that maybe you want to continue expanding on, reach out to us. We're more than willing to keep talking about it so that you can really get it in your wheelhouse. And like always, if you go against what we're saying, that's okay too. Feel free, right? Like we're never the type of persons that we're like, oh no, you're long my trade and I'm shorted, so now I hate you. No, that's just not the way it works around here, guys.
And know what? If you do that, share it in the chat. Come on the Discord, share that too, because that's what it's all about, is discussing and comparing different strategies. Like,
exactly.
We watched an interview yesterday, and we were just kind of arguing about it, and it was a great experience. And by the way, we will be kind of watching things unfold in the Discord this afternoon, so feel free to stop in and So,
all right, guys. Like always, guys, you guys can catch that on the Discord side of things. We'll let you get out of here. But yeah, the Discord doesn't stop, right? Remember, 24 hours a day, you can be hitting up that Discord, right? So go out on that Discord, let everybody know what you're seeing. And of course, join later today at 4 p.m. There's going to be from the Rose Garden, as everyone will be watching to see what happened. Is it the rose or will we get the thorn? Find out, team. Find out. All right, guys. Like always, stay safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow.